My pregnant wife became obsessed with the gym. I checked her phone and discovered explicit text with a guy from the gym. Original post. My wife is 30 years old and she's always worked out and been in shape, but lately I feel like it's becoming excessive. She used to regularly work out at a gym when she was in college. At some point she stopped going to the gym, I think lately just due to her schedule, and preferred to work out at home or go for runs outside. About 18 months ago she announced she was going to get back into the habit of going to the gym. She now has a job where she's able to make more time for it. It started off normal, but slowly became more and more frequent. She signed up for classes on the weekend, both days. She started going to the gym every day, then it became the morning before work and then again later in the evening, every single day. If she's stressed, she goes to the gym. Experience some sort of life crisis, she immediately heads to the gym. We have an argument, run to the gym. She's 4 months pregnant right now. I'm kind of surprised we even had time to make a kid. I understand that it's safe for her to work out, especially since she was already in the habit of doing it before she got pregnant, but the intensity is not slowing down. If she misses one of her normal gym sessions, she becomes so irritable, like a junkie not getting her fix. It's just bizarre. Truly a case of too much of a good thing. Of course she gets upset when I voice that I feel it's becoming an unhealthy obsession and that I miss spending time with her because she's there so much. She has all of these friends and this whole circle of people there that she seems to prefer spending time with over me. Why don't we work out together at the gym? The gym is her time, she says. This isn't a case of me feeling insecure because she's in great physical shape and I'm a fat slob. I work out and am in shape, my job really requires me to stay in shape so I can't let myself go if I want to. I genuinely feel her gym habits are unhealthy. She's over-exercising, for one. There is such a thing. But worse than that, I feel it's becoming a way for her to escape everything else in her life. She never actually fixed anything that goes wrong in her life. She just runs off to the gym to get some sort of mood boost and then that's it. She also never gets anything else done in a practical sense because how can she when she's at the gym so often? It's to the point where I have to do every chore and if food is getting made I'm going to have to do it. I don't expect her to do all of those things, but it should at least be a shared effort. People we know have even commented about it to me. They've said things about how she seems different, how she sure is at the gym a lot, and many of her friends and family barely see her anymore. Some have even suggested she's having an affair with somebody there. Please tell me that this doesn't sound normal to you. She insists this is perfectly normal. Update 1, I posted not very long ago about my wife's addiction to the gym. A compulsion, if you will. She spends most of her free time there. She often goes twice a day, and sometimes even 3 times if we have a fight at night and she needs to run off instead of actually talking to me. She won't let me go to her gym and she refuses to go to mine. Her gym is her place, my gym is my place, and that's just the way it has to be according to her. I'd love to have her come along with me. I've invited her multiple times, she's about 18 weeks pregnant right now. This is our first baby, she worked out like crazy prior to the pregnancy and she continues to work just as hard now. I truly didn't think she was cheating on me. People suggested it in the last thread and I laughed. You can tell she's at the gym a lot, she's in great shape. So she's obviously going there. I felt really confident about the cheating issue and when I posted 9 days ago I wasn't even considering cheating. I'm embarrassed to admit that after reading a lot of the comments on my last post, I thought maybe I was being overly confident about her fidelity. She usually always has her phone on her, but she left it on the kitchen counter and as stupid as I felt, I decided to do a quick swipe through her texts. She had a current text conversation going on with a guy. I recognize the name. The same name of a guy from the gym she mentions a lot. She's friends with a lot of people there, and went to one of their weddings last fall. I wasn't too terribly concerned until I started reading the texts. Never wanted to know what the guy's dick looked like, but I know now. She was only out of the room for literally about a minute or two, so I had to scroll fast. I was furious. I asked her what the fuck that conversation was about. She started yelling at me for looking at her phone. I told her she's acting so weird and the gym obsession was really bothering me so I just decided to look, and was ashamed that I did, but I thought I'd find nothing at all. She said, it's nothing, didn't look like anything to me. She sure seemed pretty interested in this nothing. I wanted to know if she's been fucking him. For how long? She kept saying no. I left the house because I was so furious, but not before I slammed her phone on the ground and shattered it. She was calling me all sorts of names for breaking her phone. She hit me on the back as hard as she could. I left. Went to my brother's house. My brother and sister-in-law were shocked, although my sister-in-law was one of the most vocal ones about my wife's gym obsession being weird and bringing it up to me constantly. I went home. She was in bed crying. She obviously couldn't call me or anyone else for that matter. She was laying it on thick. I don't know if you'd ever come home. Give me a break. I took her phone to get repaired tonight. She doesn't deserve it, but I still feel like an ass breaking her phone. I still don't know how deep it goes. She won't admit to anything beyond what I saw. Was it sexting, bad enough, or more? I'm convinced it was a lot more, but she refuses to hand over her phone and is now trying to act like I'm this terrible monster who is abusing her because I broke her phone. Not my proudest moment, but I honestly wanted to body slam her after she punched me. I have never and would never actually touch her like that. Update 2. My wife admitted to an affair. Not sure if posting something in my profile will be seen by anyone, but I don't feel like making another update in a subreddit. Today my wife asked me to stay home from work so we could talk. She laid in bed all day yesterday trying to make me feel sorry for her, but I paid absolutely no attention to her and ended up leaving the house to go to my family's Super Bowl party. I wasn't in the mood to go, but I wasn't going to sit at home with her. It really bothered her that I left. She kept texting me things like, "Who just leaves like that? When something like this is happening, who is that cold and callous that they just leave to go to a party?" I stayed home today to talk to her. She was full of tears. She's so sorry. According to her, she really was going to the gym twice a day because she likes going there. That's where her friends are, makes her feel good, it's fun for her. She met this guy there and he started flirting with her. Everyone likes him? He's one of the most popular guys there. I didn't realize there were popular people at gyms. She admitted that she flirted back but didn't mean anything by it. She didn't reciprocate very much at first, but he gave her butterflies. And she just found herself flirting back without thinking. She said it felt like she had a crush on somebody when she was in school when she was younger. They started texting. At first it was just friendly and nothing sexual for several months, but she'd feel giddy every time she got a message from him. She was really attracted to him, but told him that she was married and there could never actually be anything between them. According to her, he kept flirting with her anyway and said, "Sure, we won't cross the line." Until they did cross the line. She said she had tried to resist it for a while, but then one day they kissed. She admitted to enjoying it but also feeling that it was wrong. She must not have felt that bad because she slept with him for the first time later that night. She described it like falling in love with somebody for the first time. All she could think about was him. Is she in love with him? She doesn't know. Is this baby mine? She thinks so, but there's always a small chance it could be his. He always uses a condom so she doesn't think it's his baby, but they were sleeping together at the time she got pregnant. She loves me. She can't help that there's just this huge spark between the two of them. She doesn't know if she loves him. She doesn't know if the baby is mine. She doesn't know why she did this. She doesn't know what she thinks we should do. The nail in the coffin is when she said, "You would really leave me if it's not your baby, would you?" She had the balls to ask me that. I told her of course I'm leaving her and I wouldn't raise another man's child. She seemed shocked. She said, "Really? With everything we have and all our history, you wouldn't even consider it?" She can't be serious. I told her no, I would never consider it. She agreed to get a DNA test. She tearfully agreed, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for her about it. I don't know who this woman is. She was crying the whole time, but not tears of an ashamed or sorry person. They were tears for herself and meant to try to make me feel bad. Feel bad for what? That her heart is apparently so torn? Relevant comments, additional information. Oop. She's ruined my life, but I just feel numb right now. I barely feel anything at the moment. It would have been bad enough for her to have an affair and cheat on me. But she couldn't have stopped when she found out she was pregnant. At least I could have walked away if it wasn't for this pregnancy. Maybe I still can, but I won't know for sure until I get some test results. She's almost positive the baby is mine. I'm stuck dealing with her forever then. My child will grow up with divorced parents. Their mom will be on the gym bike. Maybe she'll even take off to live near her family and take my kid with her. Oh, but then she couldn't be near the guy who gives her butterflies and fucks her in gym changing rooms. The thrill, the excitement, how can I even blame her? She's ruined fatherhood for me, whether this is my kid or not. If by some chance this isn't my baby and I'm able to completely break free, how will I not think of this one day when I start a family? I was so fucking happy to have this baby with her. I was really excited, even though we hadn't planned for it right now. We have names picked out. I've been there for everything and now she does this to me. Not only me, but this poor kid regardless of who their father is. Oop. She's saying, I'll never go back to the gym again, I'll never talk to him again. But she can't say whether she's in love with him or not? What kind of idiot does she think I am? Comment. She still thinks there is hope to save your relationship. Jesus Christ. Oop. Yeah, I believe she still thinks there's a chance I'll agree to raise another man's child with her. She doesn't take me seriously when I say there's no way I'd do that. She is dependent on me. She probably wouldn't leave me if I knocked somebody else up and wanted her to play mommy. I know that sounds terrible and it's nothing I'd ever do, but I feel like she'd be mad and she'd go screw somebody else to get back at me, but she probably would be too scared to actually leave me. I don't feel the same way about leaving her. I'm sad to leave her. I don't want this to be our reality. I can't even say that I completely hate her yet. But I won't raise another man's child. If she feels so strongly about that guy and he's so wonderful, go get together with him then and leave everyone else alone. She was practically on her knees yesterday saying, I won't go back to the gym, I won't ever contact him again. I feel like that doesn't really mesh with the fact that she doesn't even know if she's in love with him or not. She obviously still has very strong feelings for him, which are probably coming more from between her legs than her actual heart, but doesn't really matter either way to me. I think despite anything to do with him, she's dependent on me in a way. For stability, maybe. Just out of comfort, maybe. We've been together since she was 20 years old, so I'm just this familiar person, I guess. She has her gym friends out here, but other than that she has no family or friends out here. She makes pretty good money, but I make more and all of our benefits are through me. Even with her good salary, it would be difficult to survive on her own as a single mom here with all of the daily living expenses, or at least live anywhere near the level she wants to live at. Today is the day she was crying all night about how she's ruined her life. She seemed genuine, like reality is hitting her, but I didn't pay any attention to her at all. I just pretended she wasn't there. I did ask her if she'll get blood drawn for a paternity test. I asked her to please not hurt me further by keeping me in limbo about that for months. She said she doesn't want to. OP on if he got a lawyer and if he ever met the AP. I'm meeting with a lawyer next week and we'll see what they advise. How can she parade me around when I've never been allowed to go to her gym? I've met two of the people, a slightly older married couple. Yes, I met the affair partner. Last summer he called her because he was drunk at a bar and couldn't drive home, so he called her to come get him. I didn't think it was a good idea for her to go pick somebody up late at night, so I went with her. I want her out of the house, but I don't necessarily want her to fly back home to where she's from just yet. If this is my kid and she gives birth out here, I'll be in a much better position. If she leaves and goes home to her parents, she could very well be allowed to stay there and that would be considered the baby's place of residence. She missed a few days of work, but she has gone to work since all of this happened. She was having a meltdown this morning and I left for work. She told me had to go in late today, and when she got there everybody was making her food and tea and stuff. She obviously didn't tell them what really happened, how long the affair was happening. She claims they've been sleeping together since the summer. That's just what she claims, of course. My wife is moving in with her affair partner. They're in love February 22, 2024. My life has been reduced to a trashy daytime talk show. The woman who was once my wife, who I considered a classy woman, has turned into complete trailer trash. Today she announced that she's moving in with her affair partner from the gym. She's pregnant, might be his kid, might be mine. She's too embarrassed to go get blood drawn for a paternity test. She spent about a week trying to get my attention, to get me to talk to her, to get me to beg her to be mine. I didn't fall for any of it. I've largely been ignoring her, and when we have to speak I keep it very brief. We've been living together this whole time, but I'm in a different room now and functioning separate from her in all ways. So, her pouting and trying to get me to pay attention to her and give her a gold star for not going to the gym for 5 days in a row didn't work. Today she texted me to say she is moving in with him. Somehow I still care about this person. I've already met with a lawyer though. I can care about her as a human being and possible mother of my child without being married to her. Still, it stung to hear her say she was going to be with him. I told her it wasn't a smart move to leave the house. I've even told her she should probably meet with a lawyer. She doesn't care about anything I have to say. I don't think she needs to move in with anybody. I actually feel bad for her that she can't just be on her own. I asked her if he actually knew she was pregnant and wanted to know what story she's been telling him this whole time. She said he knows and he doesn't care if it's my baby, he loves her and wants to be with her. Bizarre. You can't find anyone else? Somebody who isn't a married pregnant woman? Why would you take that on? Doesn't make sense to me. He's scum, but he's a good-looking scum who apparently is gainfully employed and owns his own home, so you can't tell me that my married, pregnant wife is your only option here. I just can't imagine being a single guy like that and wanting to put up with this baggage when I could have other options. And if this really is my baby, then what? They'll live with my wife and this weasel 50% of the time? I don't know how my life turned into this mess. And she thinks it's embarrassing to have to go get blood drawn? My wife has agreed to a paternity test February 29, 2024. My wife moved in with her AP last weekend. She didn't take very much at all. Most of her stuff is still in our house. I still get the feeling she was just waiting for me to beg her to come home, but I didn't reach out to her at all after she left. It was a strange mixture of relief, anger, and sadness. I don't think I ate at all until last night, just never felt hungry. Drank a little too much. But I'm fine. I'm posting this update because I've received a ton of messages from people and honestly it's emotionally draining to respond to each one and to have to type the same stuff out. I just don't feel like talking about her that much. So this morning she texted me to say her affair partner wants to get a DNA test done, so she's going to do it. Look at that. It didn't matter when I wanted one, but now that he has requested it she suddenly thinks it's a great idea. She asked if I wanted to submit a sample because it'll be cheaper to have two dads tested as part of one package. I don't even care about the cost at this point, I just want an answer. I don't have to see or interact with them at all. I just have to make my own appointment with the lab to get my cheeks swabbed. So this Saturday I'm going to do that and we should have the results within a week. I'll take what I can get at this point because it's better than her dragging this out for another 20 weeks. So that's it. I'm fine. I'm going to work every day. Trying to function. Just feel stuck in limbo. I miss her. Honestly, I hate that she's there with him. It makes me sick. Part of me does want to beg her to come home. It'll be even worse if I find out that it's my baby and she's there with him. Unless he drops her at that news. I won't let myself beg her. I won't play any of those games with her. Relevant comments updates. Comment 1. Have you gotten the paternity test results? Oop. At 11 o'clock this morning I got the news that I'm the father. I feel incredibly conflicted right now. Comment 2. Est-elle demandant de revenir à la maison? Or is she still planning on staying with the other guy? Regardless, this is a rough situation. I'm sorry for you, bro. Ope. We haven't talked. Comment 3. Understandable, but I think that you should try and set up a meeting with her somewhere public to discuss the pregnancy and the future in general with her. Whether or not your marriage is going to end, the kid is still going to be a big part of your lives, so it would be best to see where both of you stand in that regard. Also, I recall you saying earlier that you think that your wife would listen to what her affair partner would say to her, or something similar to that. So now that it's not his kid, I would be concerned about him pressuring her into getting an abortion. So I think you really should talk to your wife about your unborn child and whatnot. OP. We definitely need to talk, but I got the news in the middle of a workday, so I wasn't in the mood to have a full-blown conversation with her. I think I need to sort of wrap my head around the reality of it all before I say too much to her anyway. Update 3. My wife has been having an affair with a guy she met at the gym for at least nearly a year. She's around 22 weeks pregnant right now. She was somewhere around 17 weeks when I discovered she was cheating. She maintained that she was positive I was the father, but then refused to get a paternity test done to ease my mind. We recently had a paternity test done, at the request of her affair partner, and it proves the baby is mine. It's been very mixed emotions for me, very up and down. Originally I thought I just wanted to be completely done with her and not have any lifelong ties in the form of a full-blown human being we shared, but I was sort of happy or relieved when I got the results. I'd already had it in my mind that I was going to be a father for months before I found out she was cheating. Sometimes I just have moments where I can't believe this is my life, that this is the situation that my kid will be born into, and I hate her for it. She's still living with him. All of her belongings are still here in our house. I refuse to do the work of packing everything up for her. She doesn't seem concerned about taking any of her things, beyond the essentials. After we got the news that I'm the baby's father, she texted me to say she's glad I'm the father and that she knows I'll be a great dad. She was texting me new baby name ideas last night. She's tried calling, but I ignore the calls. I only speak with her via text. This morning she asked if she could come by and get a few things. I told her it was fine, as I've been advised by my lawyer to not prevent her entry from the home, but I told her that he better not be with her. So who shows up with her? The scumbag boyfriend. He walks right on into the house behind her like it's no big deal. She ran upstairs to get the stuff she wanted and he and I were just left standing there in the living room. He told me it wasn't her fault that he was there. She told him I didn't want to come, but he forced his way along. He wanted to talk to me, supposedly, to tell me he understands how I must be feeling. No, you don't know. He told me he knows I probably don't believe him, but he genuinely loves her and knew he probably wasn't the father. He accepts it and then tries to assure me he won't try to take my place with the baby and hopes we can just get along since we're both going to be in her life now. He promises that she's fine, he's looking after her. I told him that I couldn't for the life of me imagine what he wanted with a pregnant woman who was having another man's child, which I found weird. Then I told him if he didn't get out of my house I'd punch him. I went upstairs and she was trying to find some things in the bathroom. I got mad, asked her why she brought him along, and told her I find it really strange that he still wants to be with her now that he knows he has nothing to do with this baby. And that I refuse to let him have anything to do with my child. She said he talked her into coming and she's sorry and never meant for any of this to happen, but she's in love with him now. He is supposedly what a 30-year-old girl is looking for, not me. She's setting up a nursery in his house and I can set one up at my house, and she has no intention of trying to get full custody or anything like that. She doesn't want to keep me from being involved in my child's life. How generous of her. She went back downstairs and I followed her, and he was still standing there in the living room, and I just walked up to him and punched him. He stumped back and fell into a table. She yelled, "What the fuck?" and ran over to him. I don't even care at this point. As if he's going to call the cops. He deserved it, and it wouldn't have happened had he just left like I told him to. Several hours later she texted me to say she was sorry about today. He really meant what he said, and he's actually a good guy and he cares about her and he respects me. What the fuck? Does he respect me? He was screwing my wife in the gym locker room. I was like, you can't be serious. She said fine. I'm trying to have a mature conversation about this. I can't help that we fell in love. Believe it or not, I'm not trying to hurt you and I want everything to be amicable. This guy stole my wife and he's stealing my kid too. Sure, I'm the actual father, but now they're setting up a nursery together in his house. I've tried to not feel jealous or sad. I've tried to maintain the thought that he's the trash man who picked up my garbage. Sometimes I feel that way, but the truth is that I loved her, and still love her. I don't want to stay married to her on principle alone, but this is devastating to me. Update 4. Another installment of the implosion, which is my marriage, April 10, 2024. My wife is basically 26 weeks pregnant now. There actually hasn't been much drama with her and her AP. I was away for a long weekend last week and it was nice to just get away from home for a while. Only really annoying thing that's happened is that I told her I'm being in the delivery room, not him. After everything she's done, she owes me that. It's not his baby. He has no right or reason to be there. I will not be the one waiting outside when my kid is being born. She said yes, she agreed, and she never planned to have him in there with her. I asked her if she'd told him that and she said no. I told her to tell him he'll have no part in it. Well, she told him and apparently he didn't like that and he started trying to convince her why he should be there. Next thing I know, she's telling me that he really wants to be there and she's the one giving birth, so she should be able to say who she wants there and she wants him there. I suppose he'll start making name suggestions soon, and we'll try to overrule names we've had picked out for our future kids for years. We've talked a little bit and she told me I can have our house and the dog in our divorce. I'm requesting that we sell the house and split the profit. I already wrote that in the paperwork. I'm not buying her out of our house, a house that I've made all the payments on anyway. I have a much better credit score than her and less debt. I compromised a lot because she liked this house. I'd rather be able to get my own place based just on what I want and with no reminders of her. And there was already no way she was getting the dog. I already had proof that I owned him though, so she wouldn't really stand a chance of having a court award the dog to her. It's the one thing I told my lawyer I wanted above everything else, not including any custody issues surrounding my actual human child. Honestly, her AP can have her, but he will never ever have my dog. Not to mention my dog is 100 times more loyal than my wife, and some might even say better looking too. So with the idea I won't be living here in this house for much longer after the baby is born, if everything moves quickly, I decided I will still prepare a nursery here anyway in case anyone wants to try to accuse me of not being invested prepared for fatherhood. I'm trying to look at the positives. It doesn't matter what colors she likes or what themes. I can do whatever I want. Honestly, we've been together for so long and have lived together for most of our adult lives. It's sort of nice not living with somebody, but sort of lonely too. I have friends and family, but it's hard to feel in the mood to go out or hang out with people too often. They always ask me about everything that's going on, and it's just like I'm tired of that being the topic of conversation. I got a promotion at work, which financially would have been better had it happened after the divorce, but I'll take what I can get. I feel like I'm living in this limbo right now, and a lot of what I do is always framed around, how will this affect me in the divorce? Admittedly, I spy on them on social media sometimes. Guess I'm hoping to see he's been in a motorcycle accident or something now that the weather is nicer. Hasn't happened yet, but he's starting a new company, and once that's up and running I can always get all my friends and family to leave 1-star reviews everywhere. Have to find ways to have a little fun. Sorry that I don't respond to a lot of messages or comments. Sometimes I just take big breaks from looking at Reddit since it can be depressing AF. Editing to add something I forgot. She told her family that we've split up and that she's with this other guy now. Her sister reached out to me to say how sorry she was. Her sister is a dumbass, that sort of thing. She told me that my wife was complaining about her AP. The sex is over when he's done, and apparently he's really selfish with sex. He doesn't do extra little things for her that she's used to me doing, like clearing the snow off her car in the morning and heating it up or offering to make her food after a long day. He doesn't speak her love language, and he hangs out with his friends too much. This made me so happy to hear. She's secretly miserable and I find that absolutely delightful. This is a repost sub. I am not the oop. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. My husband demanded a DNA test to deny that the baby was his. He was having an affair and planning to take control of my father-in-law's company. The words that just came out of my husband's mouth are far worse than the pain that rips through me like a sharp blade. Adam comes forward, his pricey suit immaculately ironed despite the 12 hours we've spent in this delivery room, while I'm still gasping for air, trembling and drenched in sweat. I want a DNA test. He doesn't question our baby daughter's paternity. His voice is dispassionate and flat, as if he's ordering coffee. With her hands still holding our baby, my baby? The nurse freezes. The beeping monitors suddenly become too loud and obtrusive, and the room appears to shrink. Dr. Collins's wrinkled face wrinkles in worry as he looks up from his charts. Adam, what are you talking about? My voice has an odd, aloof quality, as if it were someone else's. He refuses to look at me. Rather, he looks coldly and calculatingly at our daughter, who weighs 7 pounds, 4 ounces of perfection. You heard me, McKenna. I want proof she's mine. Like poison gas, the accusation lingers in the air. This is the result of 12 years of marriage. To make him feel even a small portion of the agony pulsing through my chest, I want to shout and throw something. Rather, I chuckle. It's a harsh, bitter, terrible sound. Get out. In my mouth, the words taste like metal. Get out before I call security. Dr. Collins begins. Mrs. Harrison. But Adam interrupts. I have every right to be here, and every right to request this test. His fingers skim the screen as he takes out his phone. My lawyer says. Your lawyer? You've been talking to your lawyer while I was in labor, I blurt out. The only indication that he is still capable of feeling guilt is a faint flush that appears on his neck. I've been preparing for this moment for weeks. Weeks. The term keeps repeating in my mind. My husband was organizing this ambush as I was folding little onesies and choosing nursery colors. I feel as though I've been physically struck by the understanding. Bless the nurse, she puts herself in our way. Sir, perhaps we should continue this discussion outside. No. I ignore my aching body's protest and push myself to sit up straighter. Let him stay. Let him watch the test. Let him see exactly how wrong he is. Something flickers in Adam's eyes, but his expression remains unchanged. Disappointment? Solace? I'm no longer able to tell. I used to be familiar with all telltale signs and micro-expressions. At what point did my husband lose his identity? Dr. Collins adds, I'll arrange it immediately. In a deliberately bland tone. Though I must say, in my 30 years of practice, just do it, instructs Adam. I used to find his nervous habit of straightening his tie charming. The sooner we know the truth, the better. The truth, as though he still knows what that word implies. My girl, our daughter, is sleeping soundly in the bassinet, oblivious to the storm that is building all around her. Her dark hair, like mine, is already beginning to curl, and her little fingers are balled into fists. Even though my hands are shaking, I answer. Fine, in a calm voice. Do the test. But when it proves what I already know, don't expect forgiveness. It buzzes on Adam's phone. When he looks at it, his mask briefly comes off, guilt, terror. He's on his way to the door before I can comprehend it. He says, I'll be back tomorrow, without turning around. My lawyer will contact you about the arrangements. After he leaves, the door clicks shut, and I can breathe again. Dr. Collins touches my shoulder tenderly. McKenna, I'm so sorry. Don't. My fingers already discover Sam's number as I grab for my phone. I'll let my cousin know what to do. He always does. Just get me the paperwork for the test. And, Dr. Collins, make sure it's witnessed at every step. His eyes light up with comprehension as he nods. Of course. I gaze at my daughter once more, committing to memory every exquisite feature of her face. One thing is certain, regardless of the game Adam is playing or the falsehoods he is telling himself. He doesn't know what he's begun. After 3 days in the hospital, Sam feels as though his flat is a haven. As Tara bustles around the kitchen brewing tea, I curl up with Emma on his worn leather couch. My worries are calmed by the familiar smell of coffee grounds and old books, but my hands continue to shake. Saying, "He's changed all the locks," I observe Sam pacing. "Changed the security codes too. 12 years of marriage, and he locks me out like I'm some kind of criminal." With his journalist's notebook already stuffed with scrawled notes, Sam stops pacing. When exactly did things start changing with Adam? Think back carefully. The inquiry is a kind of gut strike. I close my eyes and attempt to remember when my marriage started to go apart. When I say, maybe 4 months ago. He started working late, missing doctor's appointments. Said it was a big merger, the Preston Tech deal. Tara's expression is disturbed as she puts down a mug of chamomile tea. That closed months ago. I gave it a quick glance. How do you know that? Because my sister works in their PR department. Tara and Sam exchange glances. The deal fell through in March. March. When Adam began bringing pricey new suits home. When the enigmatic business travels started. When he completely stopped caressing me. Sam taps his pen against the notebook and says, "This is what doesn't add up. Why wait until the baby is born to demand a DNA test? Why not do it during pregnancy?" Because he needed a scene, states Tara in a low voice. He needed witnesses. It dawns on me like a blast of cold water. He's assembling evidence against me. Emma stirs in my arms, and I instinctively move her blanket. Her little face reminds me of how calm and trustworthy I used to be. Sam says, "There's something else." But he hesitates. I made some calls. Adam's been meeting with divorce attorneys since January. January. When I initially informed him of my pregnancy. He remarked that everything was fine as he grinned and gave me a hug. That son of a... I stopped myself and glanced down at Emma. Why go through with the pregnancy if he was planning this all along? Because of the Harrison family trust, Tara responds accordingly. Your father-in-law's will had specific conditions about heirs, didn't it? Things begin to come together. The trust only pays out if there are legitimate children. Even I can hear the hollowness in my voice. He needed proof the baby wasn't his to invalidate the claim. Sam hears a buzzing sound on his phone. His face darkens as he looks at it. Adam just posted on LinkedIn. He's accepted a new position at Grant Technologies. Grant? Something in my memory is triggered by the name. Wait, isn't that the company that tried to buy out Harrison Industries last year? Sam concludes, the same one your father-in-law refused to sell to before he died. We all jump when someone knocks on the door. Glancing through the peephole, Tara takes a rapid step back. It's Adam. I say, don't open it. And squeeze Emma tighter. Adam's words, McKenna, echo through the door. I know you're in there. The DNA test is scheduled for tomorrow morning. My lawyer insists you be present. I take Sam's arm as he approaches the door. Wait, let him talk. Adam goes on. You're making this harder than it needs to be. His voice becoming almost soft. Just come home. We can work this out. I slowly get to my feet so as not to wake Emma. Work what out, Adam? The lies? The secret meetings? Or how about the trust fund you're trying to steal? Quiet. Next. I don't know what you think you know. I know enough. I no longer tremble when I speak. I know about Grant Technologies. I know about the divorce lawyers, and soon, I'll know everything else too. One more pause. The veneer of tenderness vanishes when he talks again. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Neither do you. My heart hardens as I gaze down at our kid, my girl. Game on, Adam. He backtracks along the corridor. After locking the door, Sam looks at me. What's the plan? I take my phone out and go through my old contacts until I locate the one I need. First, we find out everything we can about Grant Technologies. And then, I hit the dial. We call in some favors. Before a recognizable voice responds, the phone rings again. Dr. Collins, I need your help with something. With a somber expression, Dr. Collins slips the phone across his desk. These messages were automatically backed up to the cloud account you shared. I thought you should see them. When I take up the smartphone, my hands shake. 3:47 a.m. is the timestamp displayed. I went into labor 2 days prior. The message says, everything's arranged. Once the test results come back, she won't have any claim to the trust. Make sure you stick to the plan. Adam has responded. She suspects nothing. Just keep your father focused on the merger. Evelyn Grant, says Dr. Collins in a low voice. Daughter of Marcus Grant. I find the name to be bitter. Last year, he attempted to compel my father-in-law to sell his business. With his journalistic instincts taking over, Sam leans forward. The same Marcus Grant who mysteriously acquired 3 board seats after your father-in-law's death. I continue to scan through texts, each one getting worse. Plans, meetings, and personal information that makes me queasy. Since January, when I informed him about the pregnancy, they have been dating. When Sam says, the timing's not coincidental, Grant Technologies announced their hostile takeover bid last week. With Adam's help, they'll have controlling interest in Harrison Industries unless there's a legitimate heir. The parts fit together perfectly. That's why he needs the DNA test, to show Emma isn't his. It's not about the baby at all, it's about the company. We are interrupted by a knock. Tara enters with a pallid face. Adam's here, with lawyers. Even though my heart is racing, I make myself remain composed. Let them in. Adam walks in with 2 suits that probably cost more than my yearly income, as if he owns the place. He's wearing a tie I've never seen before, and he appears colder and sharper. Dr. Collins begins. This is a private medical facility, but Adam interrupts. We're conducting a paternity test that my client has every right to oversee. The senior attorney takes the stand. We have concerns about potential tampering. I chuckle. I'm unable to stop it. Tampering? That's rich, coming from you. Adam's mouth clenches. Careful, McKenna, you're already facing potential fraud charges. I hold out the phone and ask, if what? If these messages somehow become public? The ones showing you and Evelyn planning to steal your father's company? He becomes motionless. I catch a glimpse of genuine terror in his eyes. You had access to my your private messages? On our shared cloud account? I get to my feet, my rage giving me courage. The one you forgot to disconnect when you were so busy planning your little corporate takeover? Something is whispered in Adam's ear by the younger attorney. His expression gets gloomy. He responds. This changes nothing. But his tone falters. The test will proceed exactly as planned. Dr. Collins cuts in. Under my supervision. With witnesses present, unless you'd prefer to explain to the board why you're colluding with Grant Technologies while serving as Harrison Industries CFO. Sam moves forward while Adam's hand fumbles with his phone. I wouldn't. My article about corporate espionage at Grant Technologies goes live in an hour. Fascinating stuff about insider trading and family betrayal. Adam responds, you're bluffing, yet his forehead is dripping with perspiration. I approach while speaking quietly. You want a war, Adam? Fine. But remember, you taught me everything about corporate finance during those late-night strategy sessions. Everything. McKenna? And I learned something else from you too. I show him his most recent communication to Evelyn, which has to do with love and the words, forever always. Keep receipts. The attorneys look at each other. His throat is cleared by the elder. Perhaps we should discuss terms. No terms, I respond, observing Adam's flawless exterior crumble. No deals. You wanted to play dirty? Let's play. But remember, you're not just fighting for money anymore, you're fighting for survival. Adam's shoulders are stiff with rage as they depart. Sam lets out a faint whistle. That was just the beginning? I finish sitting back down as my legs threaten to give out. Doctor, how long till the test results, Collins? 24 hours, he adds, closely examining me. Are you certain of this? After we begin? I'm sure. I glance at the picture of him and my father-in-law at the medical school graduation that is on his desk. He made the incorrect decisions. I'm not going to make the same error. Squeezing my shoulder, Sam asks, what comes next? I take out my personal phone and navigate to a number I never would have imagined using. We then speak with Evelyn Grant. She has to find out what sort of man she's actually interacting with. I feel small as I adjust Emma's carrier on my arm, trying to see my reflection in the polished marble of the Grant Technologies lobby, which gleams with wealth and power, all steel and glass reaching toward the sky. I'm wearing one of Adam's favorite suits, the one he bought me for board meetings, and it fits differently now, but the armor is what counts. The receptionist says, Miss Grant is in a meeting, without even looking up. Tell her McKenna Harrison is here, I add, keeping my voice calm, with her fiancé's baby. Her head shoots up, eyes widening as she takes in Emma's dark hair, which are much like Adam's, and the clicking of keys stops. After 5 minutes, I find myself seated across from Evelyn Grant in her corner office. She is younger than I thought she would be, and her engagement ring, which is 3 carats and princess cut, is perfectly polished, resembling the one in Adam's browser history. But her hands betray her, squeezing a pen until her knuckles turn white. "I don't understand," she says. "Adam never mentioned a wife. A baby." Emma fusses, but I handle it with practiced ease. Funny how those details slip his mind when he's planning corporate takeovers. Color fades from her face. "You can't prove," she says. With screenshots visible, I move my phone across her desk. "I can, in fact. When your father finds out that his ideal future son-in-law is still married, what will he say? That he's manipulating Harrison Industries stock by utilizing your relationship." She says, "You're lying," but she's already reading, swiping through messages with her immaculately manicured finger. I go on, observing her expression. "The DNA test is tomorrow." Adam seems pretty certain about the results, almost as if he knows something I don't. She looks up abruptly, and her eyes flicker with dread and recognition. Sam's text makes my blood run cold, and my phone buzzes. The lab was broken into yesterday night. Security footage was deleted. Evelyn murmurs, "He wouldn't," more to herself than to me. "Your father's company stands to gain millions if Harrison Industries falls," I declare, leaning forward. "And Adam stands to gain everything, unless there's a legitimate heir." When the pen she is holding breaks, ink spills down her immaculate desk calendar, discoloring both merger dates and wedding venue appointments. "Get out," she says tremblingly, "before I call security." I slowly stand up, drawing Emma next to me. "What's funny, do you know? 5 years ago, he purchased the same ring for me. Promised me the same thing indefinitely. Utilized the same pet names as well." I said, "Get out." I whisper, "Check his phone. The one he keeps in his gym locker. The one that conveys genuine messages." She becomes motionless. "How did you?" "Because I used to be you. Young, in love, and sure that he was unique." I make my way to the door, then stop. "Oh, and Evelyn, pay attention to his left eyebrow when you confront him. When he lies, it quivers." On her broken face, the elevator doors close. "It's done," I text Sam, my hands shaking. "Begin the second phase?" He responds right away. "Tara's lab contact verified attempts at manipulation. The test is being moved to a secure location by Dr. Collins." My heart stops when I open another message that appears from an unknown number. Adam writes, "Clever girl, but you can't remember who taught you how to play chess. Check your email from Harrison Industries. The creative accounting remedies you assisted me with last year are going public, or you have an hour to leave the board. It's your turn." My stomach churns as I realize how long Adam has been plotting this. I stare at the screen, remembering late evenings spent poring over spreadsheets, following his advice, and signing agreements he swore were regular. I see my father-in-law's fortitude, my own resolve, and something else, something Adam never understood about the Harrison legacy, in Emma's face as she stirs, her little fingers capturing my finger. I call Dr. Collins. "How soon will you get access to last year's original audit files?" "Already done," he responds. "And McKenna, I discovered something intriguing in your father-in-law's personal documents. It has to do with a backup plan." I'm grinning for the first time in days. "Tell me everything." The game is only getting started. With its clean whiteness and security cameras monitoring our every step, the safe lab feels like a fortress. Dr. Collins stands at the testing station, his face impassive while Adam's lawyers hover close, and Emma sleeps in her carrier, unaware of the tension that permeates the space. Dr. Collins says, "All parties will remain present, and the results will be available in 30 minutes. With mascara smearing her cheeks and her flawless poise ruined, Evelyn storms in as the door flings open. "You're a jerk." Adam takes a step back, his self-assured facade falling off. "Evelyn, this isn't the locker at the gym." She throws her phone in his direction. It strikes the wall with a crash. "You're still married despite having 3 other ladies." The lawyers look at one another in panic, and one of them grabs for his briefcase, but Sam stops him. "Until we hear those results," he continues softly, "nobody leaves." I had forgotten Adam's uneasy gesture until he straightened his tie. "This is absurd." "Whatever you heard from McKenna." "She didn't have to tell me anything," Evelyn murmurs. "Your friend Marcus was quite helpful once I showed him the real numbers behind the Grant Technology merger." Adam's face loses color. "You didn't." "Daddy's on his way," she replies, her smile harsh and cruel. With the SEC. A message from Tara says, "Security footage recovered, lab break-in suspect identified." My phone vibrates. I slide the phone to Dr. Collins, who stares at Adam's younger lawyer and begins to perspire after examining the picture. Dr. Collins remarks, "Interesting. Very interesting indeed. I can see Adam's eyes flit between us, calculating that expression he gets when he's about to give up a piece to keep his game alive. The accounting discrepancies, he continues abruptly. All of which McKenna approved. She bears equal responsibility. With the exception of the backup plan, I interrupt, observing his expression. The one my father-in-law left with Dr. Collins prior to his passing. Adam becomes motionless. What? Adam, he was aware. Concerning the embezzlement. Concerning Grant Technologies. Including your attempts to access Emma's trust fund before she was even born, I reply steadily. He documented everything. The senior attorney clears his throat, saying, Mr. Harrison, maybe we ought to stop talking. Adam utterly loses his cool and turns to face me, his fists clenched. You're playing a bluff. Richard never did? Your father trusted me. Whispers Dr. Collins quietly. Not just as his doctor, but as executor of his estate, including the real will. The device emits a beep. Test results ready? Sam stops Adam before he can get the printout. It's over, Sam declares. The SEC has everything, the fake DNA test orders, the embezzlement records, even your deals with Marcus. Adam backs away from the door when he hears heavy, deliberate footsteps echoing in the hallway. McKenna, he attempts, his tone lessening to that well-known deceptive one. We can still make this right. For Emma's benefit. Don't you dare use our daughter as a bargaining chip, I shout, my words blazing like venom. The door opens, and Marcus Grant comes in first, followed by 2 SEC agents, while Tara records everything with her phone. One agent says, Adam Harrison, you are being investigated for securities fraud. The events that follow are shown in slow motion. Sam yells something about betrayal, Adam rushes toward the emergency exit, the younger lawyer blocks him, and Emma sleeps soundly through it all, oblivious to the fact that her world is turning on its axis. Dr. Collins holds out the test findings while touching my arm. Are you curious? I look at the paper and go back to all the times I questioned whether Adam was telling the truth or if I had failed as a mother or a wife. As I watch the SEC agents handcuff my spouse, I finally respond, no, because the outcomes are no longer important. She is my daughter. I only need to know that. Marcus Grant walks toward his tomb. Mrs. Harrison, your testimony is required tomorrow. I interrupted, drawing Emma next to me. I'm taking my daughter home right now, and as we go, I hear Adam yelling my name, desperate now, realizing what he's lost, and I don't turn back. Some games aren't worth winning, and some victories come from walking away rather than seeking revenge. I have all I need in my arms tonight, but tomorrow will come attorneys, testimony, and struggles for control of Harrison Industries. Perhaps it's because half of the board resigned when the SEC probe went public, or perhaps it's because Dr. Collins is constantly looking at his watch or Sam avoids eye contact, but the Harrison Industries boardroom is colder than I remember. Spreading papers across the gleaming table, Marcus Grant declares, the evidence is conclusive. The DNA test results were altered before they reached the lab. However, my client maintains that Mrs. Harrison was complicit in the financial irregularities. Adam's new attorney interrupts. I say, the signatures on these documents were forged, but even I sound insincere. I never? Can you demonstrate it? Because these trading records show otherwise, the attorney says, advancing further documents. During the relevant period, there were significant transfers to your personal account. Adam requested that I cease keeping an eye on our joint account because he had it handled, and my hands shake when I recognize the account numbers. Sam rises up suddenly and says, this is absurd. When McKenna approved these transactions, she was on maternity leave? The timestamps say otherwise. The lawyer's smirk is shark-like. The contingency plan has been compromised. Marcus Grant begins, his words tumbling like stones, while Dr. Collins clears his throat. Last night, someone gained access to Richard Harrison's secret files. Everything is gone. The room whirls, and I hold onto the edge of the table as the floor moves beneath me. That isn't feasible. The security procedures, the lawyer explains, almost empathetically, were bypassed using your credentials along with some very interesting emails about offshore accounts. My phone is buzzing, and Tara is sending me urgent updates. Speculation about the DNA test issue is growing on social media. News sites are reporting on fraud at all levels of Harrison Industries, and the business stock is plunging. I can explain, but Adam's attorney raises his hand. Save it for the SEC hearing. In the meantime, the board has called for an emergency vote of no confidence, given the circumstances, he says, standing up and arranging his papers. You can't, I cry, my throat clenched. My father-in-law dedicated his life to this business. He had faith in me. I recoil when I hear Adam's voice. He stands in the doorway, spotless even with his ankle monitor for home imprisonment. As if I trusted you not to tell Evelyn behind my back. Don't you dare. The board needs stability, he adds calmly. Someone with clean hands to bring it through this storm. Thankfully, I have a deal with the SEC that calls for complete cooperation in return for a lighter sentence. The falsified signatures, the corrupted data, and the meticulously crafted paper trail that leads directly to me all fit together. The understanding tastes like ash as I reply, "You're going to pin everything on me. The fraud, the cover-up, all of it." I told Evelyn that. He twitches his left eyebrow. "McKenna, you caused this to yourself. If you had only cooperated? Did you play along?" I get up so fast that my chair falls over. "You stole my daughter's inheritance, right? Richard built everything, but you ruined it all. Your daughter..." His grin turns ruthless. "Roughly." The results of the initial DNA test were really intriguing. The audience falls silent, and as Sam approaches Adam, security personnel intervene. I murmur, "You're lying." But skepticism seeps in like poison. I think about all those late hours at work, the enigmatic business trips, and how he never wanted to talk about nursery colors or baby names. Am I? He takes out his phone and displays a lab result that I had never seen before. "Do you want to know how these genetic markers work?" Adam's attorney interrupts Dr. Collins before he can finish speaking. "In light of the situation, my client is ready to request complete custody. When evaluating a person's suitability for parenthood, the court typically disapproves of fraud and embezzlement." I hear Emma's midnight sobs and morning laughter, see her face with her small fingers and dark curls, and feel the weight of her in my arms. The only thing that has seemed genuine since this nightmare started. "The board votes in an hour." Adam replies quietly. "So step down immediately. Give us your shares, and we might be able to set up supervised visits." I sway and Sam takes my arm. "McKenna, don't." My vision is blurring though, and I'm already reaching for the resignation letter. Sometimes surrendering isn't about giving up. Sometimes it's about buying time to fight in a different way. Sam stands guard at the door while Tara works her magic on the computer, and Dr. Collins's office feels strange at midnight, with shadows creeping across his father's medical degrees and the steady hum of backup generators masking our footsteps. "Found it," she murmurs. "The original backup of the server. During the purge, Adam's crew didn't notice it. When I put in the flash drive Richard Harrison gave me years ago, his insurance policy, which I never imagined I'd need, my hands trembled." "How much time?" Tara's fingers dart across the keyboard as she says, "If your father-in-law's passwords still work, it will take 10 minutes to decrypt." Adam stands with 2 security guards on either side of him, his ankle monitor glowing accusingly in the dark as the door slams wide. "I knew you'd try something desperate." He straightens his handcuffs and enters. "How about breaking and entering? That will appear awful during the custody hearing." Sam shifts between us. "How did you discover?" Adam's eyes do not meet his smile. "Dr. Collins isn't as devoted as you believed. Everybody has a cost. Like the cost of Evelyn? Or was she just another stepping stone?" The words have a harsh bite. For a moment, he loses his composure. "You don't understand what's at stake." Tara whispers. 7 minutes, behind me." Adam narrows his gaze. "It won't matter what you're attempting to recover. Tomorrow morning, the board will cast its vote. Your resignation has already been handled." As I watch the progress meter crawl, I remark, "The funny thing about resignations is that they're not valid if they were signed under duress or if the person requesting them is engaging in fraud." He chuckles, but there's a hint of doubt. "You can't prove anything." 5 minutes, replies Tara. Adam gives the guards a signal. "Stop it. Now." "Wait." I take a step forward and play my final card. "The actual DNA is the outcome. Bring them to me. We've been through this. Either show me, or I'll send the SEC whatever we discover. Each and every email, each and every transaction, each time you meet with Marcus Grant." He twitches his left eyebrow. "You're bluffing." 3 minutes, declares Tara. Sam stiffens, prepared to step in as the guards approach the computer. "She's yours." Everyone is frozen in place by Adam's comments. "The actual test, the DNA test. It demonstrates you own her." I needed leverage, so I changed the outcomes. I just sense clarity, even though the admission should be painful. "In any case, you never desired her, did you? She was merely another resource to manage." 2 minutes. At last, Adam's facade breaks. "You believe this has to do with a baby? Richard promised me authority and control when he appointed me CFO, and that's what this is all about." I whisper. He promised you a legacy, not a kingdom to steal. 1 minute. Adam jumps for the computer, but Sam stops him while Tara covers the screen. Amidst the confusion, a phone that I've never seen before falls out of Adam's pocket, and I quickly find the messages. Talks with Marcus Grant, plans to steal parts from Harrison Industries, and more, emails from Dr. Collins. With a triumphant "it's done," Tara declares, "Everything's decrypted." Adam becomes motionless. You don't want to open that file. However, I already am. The room is filled with the voice of Richard Harrison, who made a video confession only days before he died, naming people, outlining plans, and revealing one more surprise. Finally understanding, I tell Adam, Richard changed his will before he died. The company was never yours to steal. Emma was left in charge of his interest. Impossible, Adam, trembling, adds. She wasn't even born. I show him the will's date. Adam, he was aware. Almost everything, including the fraud, the affairs, and the agreements with Grant Technologies. You've been playing the exact game he anticipated the entire time. Adam's face twists in rage as he hears police sirens blaring in the background. You believe you've triumphed? The board, the proof, and your written confession are still with me. Sam whispers. Check your phone, the real one you just dropped. With the SEC reopening their investigation, Marcus Grant making agreements to save himself, Evelyn's father withdrawing all support, and Dr. Collins sending one more message, Adam's eyes widen as the communications pour in. Richard, I fulfilled my pledge. The heritage of your granddaughter is secure. Some wins aren't about winning. They're about defending what counts most. As Adam collapses, his empire of lies crumbling around him, the cops storm in, but I'm already leaving, thinking of Emma sleeping soundly at home. There are still remnants of yesterday night's pandemonium in the Harrison Industries boardroom. Evidence markers litter the conference table where Adam's business finally fell apart, police tape crosses the entryway, and Dr. Collins offers me a leather portfolio. The private documents of Richard Harrison. When the time was right, he wanted you to have these, he says softly. Beneath years of financial documents and business plans, I discover a letter inside. The paper is old, the ink is fading, but Richard's firm handwriting is still legible. My beloved McKenna, you'll see why I choose you to guard Emma's estate by now. That legacy isn't measured in stock prices or merger deals, not because you're Adam's wife, but because you saw what he couldn't. It is ingrained in decision-making moments, in choosing to defend instead of destroy. Emma fusses about her job. I shift her blanket, see my image in the darker windows, and I appear different in some way. Stronger, perhaps, or simply more confident. Sam shows up at the door. The SEC wants to review the video testimony again, and Evelyn Grant is here. When Evelyn walks in, I anticipate fury, but all I see in her eyes is tiredness. She says, Daddy is resigning. The board approved the dissolution of the merger attempt. She twists her now ringless fingers and rambles. The scandal. I told her, I never wanted this, and for the most part, it's true. Neither did I. Something softens in Emma's face as she looks at her. He also promised me children, you know? A future in which I genuinely had faith. I know, I responded. Because I did too, once. The doctor clears his throat. The new members of the board are ready. They will require guidance about the company's future. Richard's letter, decisions, and legacies come to mind. Inform them that we are reorganizing, beginning with the charitable foundation. Funding for programs that assist single parents should be doubled. From where she sits at the computer, already working on the press release, Tara smiles. We hear a commotion outside, and through the glass walls I see Adam being escorted out by federal officials, his flawless suit creased, his confidence mask finally shattered. He looks at me and begins to talk, but I turn away because some discussions aren't worth having. There's something else, Dr. Collins says, holding out another envelope. Precise instructions regarding Emma's trust were left by your father-in-law. Money isn't the only factor. The grant is a challenge. Projects for community investment must equal every dollar. Finally comprehending, I chuckle. He ensured that the legacy would not be taken, it must be earned. Speaking of earning, Sam adds, the investigative piece just went live. The cost of truth and corporate corruption. However, in my opinion, karma in the boardroom sounded more fitting. As Emma falls asleep, I make the decision, no more karma, and no more retaliation either. Simply move forward. Dr. Collins' eyebrow goes up. What about Adam? We face justice through proper channels. Richard's portfolio is closed by me. I'm done playing his games. Evelyn gets up to go, but stops at the door. In my opinion, Richard made a wise decision. She nods to Emma, saying, "Not just for the company, but for her." When she leaves, I proceed to Richard's former office, where his nameplate still hangs on the door. It will soon read Harrison Industries Trust Management, and his presence permeates every thoughtfully chosen element. I discover a final message, dated the day of his death, tucked inside his desk calendar. "Remember, knowing when to fight isn't what gives you power. Knowing when to stop is the key." I take Emma and inhale that lovely baby aroma as she wakes up, wanting attention with her father's determination but mercifully without any of his calculation. "Are you prepared to return home?" From the doorway, Sam asks. I corrected him, gathered our belongings, and said, "Not home. Forward." We bring lawyers, restructuring plans, and 1,000 decisions concerning Emma's future tomorrow, as reporters outside wait with questions about scandal and redemption. But now, in this silent triumph, I realize what Richard had known all along. Sometimes the best form of retaliation isn't demolishing what others have created, but rather creating something better out of the ashes they left behind. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. My infertile sister raged when I got pregnant, claiming I stole a chance from others. My mother took her side and kicked me out. I, a 30 female, never thought my family would fight over assisting underprivileged youngsters. Everything started 7 years ago, however I must share last week's events. Following college, I became an at-risk youth mentor at a local community center at 22. I teamed with Mary, a 10-year-old kid whose mother, Amanda, 35 female, was working and dealing with personal issues. Mary was smart but behind in school due to family instability. We had tutoring and activities twice weekly. Amanda called me late one night after 6 months of coaching. She sounded exhausted and desperate. After her landlord evicted them, she couldn't find cheap housing. Amanda asked me to keep Mary for a few weeks while she recovered. Due to space in my 2-bedroom apartment, I accepted. 2 weeks became 2 months, then 3. Amanda visited occasionally but struggled to find work and housing. To authorize and help Mary, the mentoring program coordinator encouraged me to become a foster parent. Mary moved in 6 months after I finished home studies and fostered her. Amanda seeks stability. Right now, we get along. Almost daily, Mary was visited and called. Never tried to replace Amanda. I told Mary her mother wanted her home. Amanda and I had a long conversation 5 years ago when Mary was 12 and I was 24. She had a steady income but her home was unstable, and she worried about removing Mary from the school where she had finally found success. We decided I should defend Mary's legal rights. Amanda battled this decision. Through tears I watched her sign the paperwork. Because she thought her daughter would benefit. A new normal emerged. Mary debated, gained friends, and did well in school. Amanda visits her weekends and calls often. I safeguarded their relationship. Amanda contacted me 2 years later. She struggled to care for her kid Ethan while working full-time. She wanted me to foster him so the siblings could be together. After considering it, I took 2-year-old Ethan home. Using accountant savings I moved us to a 3-bedroom property with a yard. Work introduced me to 31 male Kevin last year. After months he got a job in another state, and we split up. We broke up without my knowing I was pregnant. I'm 25 weeks pregnant with my first. My older sister Emily, 35 female, has been trying to conceive with her husband for 9 years without success. After several fertility treatments, each failure is awful. Emily always envisioned parenthood. She dreamed of it since infancy. She helped Mary move in with me by bringing clothes and toys and taking her on weekend outings. She welcomed Ethan into our family, but her visits decreased. She cited her job schedule, but I think the kids showed her what she needed. I told my family 3 weeks ago I was pregnant. My parents loved their new grandson. Emily offered a generic congratulations before switching topics. Emily stopped returning my calls and texts after that call. Last week my mother hosted Sunday supper for us. I went alone because a friend watched Mary and Ethan. The meal was filled with pregnancy queries from my folks. Did I feel good? Did I consider names? Was the nursery ready? Emily stared at me coldly when the baby was mentioned before leaving. After supper, Emily questioned me why I took 2 foster kids when I could have real kids. Table silence. Amanda got therapy. I became a foster parent to stabilize Mary. We decided permanent guardianship was best, and Ethan moved in with me to keep the siblings together. I hardened Emily's face with every word. She said I forced my instant family on her after years of trying. She argued that I had 2 children without trying to be a mother, And now I was carelessly having a biological child. The worst part was when she said it was cruel that I took 2 foster children who could have gone to parents who deserved them more since they couldn't have children. Her comments physically shook me. My foster kids weren't astonished to be sent to the best couple, but I felt her pain. Their mother asked me to help her house the kids safely. I apologize for her issues, but I wouldn't apologize for taking in poor children. Mom asked me to go after quietly watching this encounter. I took my stuff without saying anything. Mom called the next day. She said my hostility to Emily was unnecessary given her situation. My sister was wounded and suggested I apologize. Emily received a text apologizing for my harsh comments but not the content. I respected her journey and suffering, but I wouldn't take responsibility or let her imply my relationship with Mary and Ethan snatched children from better parents. Emily ignored my text. My mother called again to say I was exacerbating things by doubling down instead of apologizing. I'm in my kitchen watching Mary and Ethan build a block tower, wondering if I did something wrong. Mary is constantly asking when we'll visit Grandma and Grandpa again, and I'm stumped. I've always tried to do what's best for these kids, but I worry if my family would accept our unique parenting style. Was my effort excessive? Should I have cared for Emily more? Is my opinion correct? Update 1. My family's issues have grown 2 weeks after the dinner catastrophe. First, thanks to everyone who replied to my initial post. Your support confirmed my right to defend my children and family. Many of you had relatives who viewed foster care selfishly, which helped me feel less alone. After that text, Emily blocked my number and erased me from all her social media accounts without responding. Though expected, it's startling. My mother was supposed to visit 2 days before my 28th week anatomy scan last week. She canceled via phone. She stated Emily was too upset to hear my name and my mother didn't want to help me at the scan. She recommended that I reschedule after things calmed down. No rescheduling. Instead, I took Ethan to the appointment. The clinic nurses loved him, and he read picture books while the ultrasound technician conducted it. Watching him joyfully point at the TV when the baby moved made my mother and sister's absence less noticeable. After the visit, Mom texted to ask how it went and if I learned the baby's sex. Got the message but didn't respond. Say what? That a child may replace her at the clinic? That a stranger cared more about my pregnancy than my family? Dad called 4 days ago. His call surprised me because he's impartial on family issues. After my mother told him about skipping the anatomy scan, he checked on me. He occasionally asked questions but mostly let me tell about what happened since supper. After I finished, he said something shocking. Emily and my mother were wrong, he thought. He added, providing a home for children who needed one was never something to apologize for. And while he understood Emily's pain, she had no right to make me feel guilty for my choices or my pregnancy. He volunteered to stay with me after the baby was delivered with his new wife, Susan. He proposed they help with Mary and Ethan for 2 weeks while I healed, even though they lived 3 hours away. I needed postpartum assistance after my mother volunteered for this position. I heard from Emily's husband Tom yesterday. After our fight and therapy, he reported Emily was inconsolable. No apology was requested. He admitted Emily's dinner remarks were unacceptable. He wanted me to know she was getting help and hoped we could reconcile. He was appreciated and I was delighted Emily was getting therapy. Reconciliation must value my 3 children and acknowledge that Mary and Ethan are youngsters who require safety and stability, not consolation trinkets for infertile parents. After sending that communication, I sat down with Mary to explain her aunt and grandmother's predicament in age-appropriate terms. To digest disagreements, grown-ups need time apart, I told her. I assure her it had nothing to do with her or Ethan, and that I prioritized our family, including the new baby. Mary thoughtfully asked her aunt why the baby bothered her. I stressed that seeing others get what they want can make individuals angry. She agreed, adding she felt the same when her friend brought her the sneakers she wanted for her birthday, but her mom, Amanda, couldn't afford them. I occasionally admire 14-year-old wisdom. I accepted my father's postpartum aid via SMS this morning. Next, I updated Amanda by phone. She calls Mary twice a week and visits monthly. Her health is good. She was promoted at work and moved into her apartment over a year ago. She worried about the family tension and volunteered to keep both kids for a weekend before the baby arrived so I could prepare. My mother's loyalty to Emily over a milestone and my pregnancy still affects me. I focus on people who've supported me and my kids instead of her. The child is male. All scan tests were normal. Mary is pleased to have another brother. First gift I gave her when she moved in, she gave him a plush elephant. Ethan doesn't comprehend, but he pats my belly and says, "Baby," smiling. I haven't named the baby. Due to my busy schedule, it keeps sliding off. I have 12 weeks to decide, so suggestions are welcome. Thank you again for helping. It means more than you realize. Update 2. 3 months have gone since my last update, and the baby is 3 weeks old. Baby life comes first, but much has happened and I want to update. Birth first. Alex, 7 pounds 2 ounces, was born 2 weeks early. Work was easy, but tiresome. 14-hour runtime. My father and Susan arrived almost presciently the day before I gave birth. While I was in the hospital, they brought Mary and Ethan to visit Alex and me. Mary's reaction to her new sibling was beautiful. Her thorough treatment of him showed her wonder and pride. Ethan liked the hospital bed controls better than the baby, but he named Alex Tiny and caressed his head. Amanda took handmade baby blankets to the hospital. She sat with me when Mary showed her the baby and later said she was proud of Mary's youth. This time together via our unique family bonds is precious. My sister and mother's health. My mother asked which hospital after hearing I was in labor. After Alex was born, I replied with his birth stats and a photo. When could she visit? I told her I wasn't ready for guests beyond immediate support after talking to my father. I received many texts about my harshness and separating her from her grandson. She stated I was punishing her for supporting Emily, and that a baby should unite the family. I needed time to recover without stress, so my father told her to depart. Alex received a large present a week after hospitalization. A costly bassinet and baby clothing were inside. Tom and Emily signed the card. Only names, no messages. So I called Tom to thank them for the gifts. He was astonished by my message and said Emily suggested the bassinet. He hesitated before saying she wasn't ready to talk. I said I appreciated the offer and the door was open for her to discuss. Mom unexpectedly visited my house 2 days later. Ethan was at playgroup, Mary was at school, and my father and Susan went grocery shopping while I was alone with a newborn. She kept ringing the doorbell, waking Alex, who had fallen asleep after eating. She pushed by me into the house and went to the living room bassinet when I opened the door. She grabbed Alex before I could stop her, raving about meeting her grandson. I felt violated by her intervention and didn't want to upset the baby. I told her to sit down and that while I was glad she wanted to meet Alex, entering unannounced was wrong. I asked her to follow my boundaries if she wanted to join us. Should I not have hidden the infant from the family, she wouldn't need such measures. Mother's mood changed once father and Susan returned. Her planned visit included giving me the baby. After witnessing my face, my father advised my mother to leave. After crying, she called to say I was turning everyone against her. Emily sent me a long email the next day. Her therapist advised her to write, but not communicate her feelings. She sent it anyway. She apologized and accused me, saying her dinner words were hurtful and that my ease at having children was a personal attack on her suffering. The final paragraph stated that she and Tom were authorized as foster parents and anticipated their first placement next month. She claimed that her therapist helped her realize her resentment at me was unwarranted and that foster care will heal her. She said she wasn't ready to see me or the baby, but wished to reconcile. Good luck with her first placement, and congrats on foster parent permission. I gave her some guidance from my early fostering days and offered to talk when she was ready. No reply. My dad and Susan stayed 3 weeks longer than intended. Their help was crucial. They maintained Mary and Ethan's schedules, kept the house running well, and gave me quiet time between feedings. I was prepared for their departure. Amanda comes twice a month. She offered to care for Mary and Ethan for a week in the summer so I could focus on the baby. Mary is excited about this plan since Amanda moved to a poolside apartment complex. Getting used to 3 kids. Watching Mary read to her boys while they listen intently makes night feedings worthwhile. Ethan calls himself mommy's helper and brings me diapers. While my mother and sister's issue remains unresolved, I've found peace in focusing on our family in this house. My motherhood journey wasn't what I expected, but I wouldn't alter it for my 3 kids. Update 3. Alex, now a healthy, smart 9-month-old, has started crawling and getting into everything since my previous report 6 months ago. Though busy, my 3 kids and I have family routines. Emily and I are carefully repairing our relationship, which is the biggest news. I was texted 3 months ago to meet for coffee alone. I had Amanda watch the kids. She's my rock and met Emily at a cafe between our homes. Weather and haircut conversation dominated the first 10 minutes. making them awkward. She then showed me her phone photo of Marcus, her first foster child. Discussing Marcus affected Emily's face. She described his dinosaur fascination, reading difficulties, and nightly monster check under the bed. She detailed his nightmares, initial mistrust, social worker and biological family meetings, and other issues. Something she said showed her progress. Missed it. Fostering was supposed to fill my void. It's not about me. Marcus assists his mother till she can. I nodded, grateful for her way of understanding. She said Marcus's mother was sober and working to reconcile in a year. Emily shakily replied she would miss Marcus when he went home but supported reunion. She apologized. She denied that I stole children from deserving parents, or that fostering gave her comfort. She said her immune system had consumed her, preventing her from looking beyond her loss. Fostering Marcus showed her that systemic children don't solve adult issues. While their families heal, they need safe temporary lodging. I accepted her apology and apologized for my harsh statements during our fight. We spent the next hour talking about nighttime anxieties, reaching a child with walls, and building biological family relationships. We became sisters after years of hatred. Emily wanted to see Alex, Mary, and Ethan before leaving. Marcus played in the park with us the following weekend. The kids clicked instantly. Mary directed the smaller boys, and Ethan appreciated Marcus's dinosaur knowledge. After seeing only one baby photo, Emily hugged Alex, amazed with his progress. Our family meets monthly. Relationship repair continues. When old hurts return, tension rises, but we continue. My mother-daughter bond is tougher to repair. After her unexpected visit, I wrote her a letter setting clear boundaries. No surprise visits, no criticizing my parenting or family structure. I made it clear she had to respect these boundaries to be with us. No response after 2 months. Card with a little letter arrived in the mail. I miss my grandchild. Willing to listen. Try brief supervised visits. She hesitated, but she relaxed when she saw I wasn't punishing her, just setting boundaries. Mary's school play last month featured my mother. She hugged and told Mary she was proud later. Later that night she pulled me aside and apologized for favoring her daughters. Her revelation of what mattered came from seeing all 3 children prosper under my care. Our relationship isn't ideal but improving. Amanda stays with us. She brought her new beau to dinner at our house last month. Seeing her introduce him to Mary and Ethan was powerful. She encouraged my involvement in their lives and was confident in motherhood. This adventure showed me that family is about cooperation, not competition. Mary turned 16 last week. She requested calm conversation while we prepared her birthday supper. After thinking, she wanted to adopt us. We considered this over the years, knowing she could decide when she was ready. To hear her say she was ready made me cry. The legal process starts next month. Ethan, 4, loves his big sister and entertains Alex. Alex makes Ethan laugh most. Emily and Tom are willing to foster their second child, whose mother needs time to recover. Emily called me for nursery advice and we spent hours discussing the emotional and practical aspects of fostering a newborn. Marcus thrives under their care and will return next spring. Our journey has been surprising. When I started mentoring 7 years ago, I never imagined 3 motherhoods, an irreversible family breakup, and a deeper knowledge of family. Though hard, watching my children grow up with a biological and chosen family is worth it. Go to the next story. Story 2. My parents claim my sister's marriage was damaged by my advice. Months later, a horrible secret affects everything. I'm 34F and have endured months of family issues causing insomnia. Focusing on my younger sister Ella, 29F, her arranged husband Richard, 31M, and their 2 children, Jill, 7F, and Jack, 4MM. Ella met Richard in college. Opposites attract. Although Ella was organized, Richard was more casual. Their balance made things seem fine for a time. They married after college and had Jill a year later. Richard was overjoyed with Jill's birth. He talked of teaching her while watching her sleep for hours. Richard was overjoyed when Jack was born 3 years later. He'd always wanted a son and was delighted to take Jack fishing and camping. However, changes occurred. Richard was often absent, because his new job required more travel. Ella left with 2 young children and a full-time job. This stresses their connection. Ella lloró llamándome el año pasado. She found affair hints on Richard's phone. He denied it, but admitted to feeling a connection with a co-worker when challenged. He maintained nothing happened but trust suffered. After months of counseling, nothing worked. Richard was defensive and tough, Ella said. 8 months ago, they parted. They let Richard watch the kids every other weekend and review after 6 months. Early on, things went well. Richard will pick up and drop off the kids Friday and Sunday nights. Finally, he apologized. He worked late on a weekend. Next, he was unwell. He took the kids once a month max. I have 8-year-old twins Emma and Olivia, and 9-year-old Noah. Jill and Jack got along with their relatives, so I took them when Richard canceled. I chose relatives above father disappointment for kids. Richard took advantage. He called me immediately to ask if I could take the kids on his weekend, saying, "Your place is usually better." Furious, but I didn't want to disappoint the kids. I told Richard repeatedly. I suggested he help his kids. His excuses were common. Work, illness, or unavoidable plans stopped him from canceling. Spending time with his kids seemed optional. I have many terrible memories of this. My ex-husband Brian got worse after our divorce. He'd cancel at the last minute, leaving me scrambling for childcare. It took me a while to realize his actions hurt our kids and me. It finished last month. Even on his weekend, Richard asked me to take the kids on Friday afternoon. His explanation now: forgot his concert tickets. I took the kids despite my fury. Ella looked exhausted when she picked them up Sunday. She complained about Richard's dependability. She couldn't plan weekends since she didn't know if he'd take the kids. My Brian experience made me sympathize with her. I changed our custody arrangement so Brian could only get the kids when he asked. I mentioned how easier it was not to rely on him following a schedule and how my kids were happier not being disappointed. Ella took it seriously. She thanked me for listening and left with the kids. I thought that was it, but she notified Richard about changing their agreement. Richard raged at me the next day. He said I was trying to turn Ella against him and kidnap his kids. Shocked. None told Ella what to do. Shared experience. Richard didn't listen when I explained. Yelled at me for being a rotten sister and to mind my own business. I was fed up and snapped at him. If he wasn't inconsistent, Ella wouldn't change. My family's divided. My family agrees with Richard that I shouldn't have interfered. Richard has always been special because he helped Dad renovate their kitchen a few years ago. My brother likes my performance. He never liked Richard after he missed his birthday 2 years in a row. Our parents are urging Ella to stay still after I opened her eyes. They say Richard is struggling and needs help, not criticism. I worry about overstepping. Should I have kept silent about my experience? Am I responsible for accidentally provoking family strife? All this reminds me of Jill and Jack. Jill is old enough to know her dad cancels, and I've seen her disappointment. Jack is too little to comprehend. He inquired why they saw their dad less. Part of me wants Ella and Richard to resolve it. But I also want to fight for those kids so they don't think their dad doesn't want to spend time with them. I keep thinking about how much happier my kids are after I change Brian. His commitment to the time makes him rarely cancel when they meet. It altered their life. Maybe every situation is different. Maybe Richard is just having a tough moment and will recover. I may project my issues upon Ella. No idea what to do. Should I apologize to Richard and my parents? Should I continue? Should I totally avoid it? I always worry that someone may dislike me. A month has gone since my last post, and much has happened. I appreciate everyone's advice and assistance. So I was right to inform Ella about my experience. Post-fight tensions were high in our family. Ella was pressured by our parents to go since Richard needed time to adjust to single dadhood. Ella separated. She didn't want to offend Richard, but she was fed up with his inconsistency. I avoided it whenever possible. I invited Jill and Jack to play with my kids, but Ella, not Richard. He wouldn't get more ammunition against me. One weekend while the kids were there, Jill asked me why her dad didn't want to see them. The heart broke. I tried to imply she loved her dad, but adults have trouble. She seemed happier after our chat, but I'm not sure she understood. The culmination was 2 weeks ago. Weekend with the kids was Richard's plan. Ella dropped them off Friday night, but Richard called at 9 p.m. to say he had to work out of town and suggested she bring them up. Ella raged. She planned her childless weekend. Ella phoned me. She sobbed and requested me to watch the kids overnight. Sure, I agreed. Jill cried when she dropped them off, asking why her dad didn't want to see them. Why they moved late at night puzzled and annoyed Jack. Ella came early the next day. She was ready to confront Richard and modify their deal. As requested, I watched the kids while she talked to him. Ella was out, so I distracted the kids. They were afraid while we baked cookies, played board games, and built a pillow fort in the living room. Jill kept asking when her mother would arrive, and Jack clung. Miss Ella vanished for hours. She looked fatigued, but relieved when she returned. She said she and Richard had a long, difficult conversation. To defend himself, Richard said work was crazy. But Ella persevered. Richard was advised he would no longer have set weekends with the kids. He had to ask her a week ahead to take them for a weekend. Last-minute cancellations cost him his next shot. Ella continued despite Richard's disapproval. She told him his behaviors affected the kids, and this was his last chance to prove himself trustworthy. Parents were upset when they learned. I was accused of poisoning Ella against Richard at my house that night. It was Richard's behavior, not my advice to Ella, I said. A fierce argument ensued. Our dad kept saying Richard was trying, and our mom accused me of jealousy since Richard was a better father than my ex. That hurts. Despite his flaws, my ex was punctual. Every time Richard canceled on the kids, I reminded them how upset Jill and Jack were. I asked if Richard could treat his kids like options. That made them pause, but they granted Richard more time. After the argument, parents left to think. Not talking to them is hard. Our family has always been close, so this rift hurts. Ella was helpful. Our conversation inspired her to protect herself and her children. She claims she neglected Jill and Jack to maintain peace. Peace is uneasy for now. Richard's accepted the change but is upset. Ella seems more in charge. The change is confusing, but kids are adapting. Recently, Jill wondered why things changed. I said her parents were trying to find ways to spend time with her and Jack. She agreed, but she seemed nervous. It may not solve everything, but it's a start. Without last-minute cancellations, Ella relaxes. This should inspire Richard to spend more time with the kids. I'm supporting Ella and the kids. Ella knows I'm always willing to help Jill and Jack. I'm also giving our parents space to help them change. While it's difficult and will take time for everyone to adjust, I think Jill and Jack will benefit. This new setup should provide them with reliable parents. Update 2. Again, things changed abruptly this month. New agreement with Richard appeared fine at first. He scheduled a visit to the kids and arrived on time. Ella was cautiously optimistic. Ella cried on the phone 2 weeks ago. She learned Richard lost his job 3 months previously without notifying anyone. He was preoccupied with job interviews or trying to make ends meet when he said he was busy or had to go out of town for business. This news saddens Ella. She and Richard were always upfront about money. They made all major decisions collectively. Richard lost her trust after keeping this secret for so long. Ella was confused. She was outraged that Richard lied to her and the kids. She regretted being hard on him when he struggled. She asked my counsel. I advised her to quietly talk to Richard and get all the information before making a decision. Ella agreed and met Richard the next day. Their conversation revealed much. Richard said he was too embarrassed to tell anyone he lost his job. Getting a new one before anyone discovered it took longer than expected. He couldn't afford to eat or take the kids out, so he canceled. Much is made clear by this. Though not justified, Richard's actions make sense. It reminded me that pride and embarrassment can cause unwise decisions. Ella se arrepintió de la traición de Richard, pero entendió por qué. The solution was discussed for hours. Another deal was made. Ella is more flexible, but Richard must request the kids in advance. She offered to help with the kids financially while Richard looked for work. Ella told me this, and I was amazed but proud of her understanding. I told her to be cautious. She should check Richard's employment search to make sure he wasn't taking advantage of her kindness. Our parents altered their thoughts after learning. They criticized Ella for softening after scolding her for being tough on Richard. Ella shouldn't trust Richard's excuses, they warned. Another family conflict. Instead of making Ella stricter with Richard, our parents say I manipulated her again. Ella was an autonomous adult, I said. Parents indicated they were done after the fight. No further advice or help till we revealed our feelings. This entire episode has shown me how quickly we judge others without understanding the complete story. I think Richard should have been honest from the start, but I can appreciate how painful it was to lose his career. Ella and Richard are adjusting to their new agreement. More time with Dad makes the kids happier. Richard seems more interested with them, probably because he's less worried about them uncovering his secret. Supporting Ella as best I can. I've offered to help with the kids when needed, and am monitoring the situation to avoid Richard from taking advantage. My guess is that Ella and Richard's honesty and cooperation will help everyone, especially the youngsters. Update 3. Over 2 months since my last update, I'm still processing. The outcome was surprising. Richard worried and called Ella 3 weeks ago. He had a great job interview, but it was the weekend he was supposed to have the kids. He advised Ella to switch weekends. Ella offered to help Richard find work. I watched Jill and Jack so Ella could rest on interview day. Nothing was wrong until Ella called me furiously at 3 p.m. Police contacted her recently. His car wrecked on the interview route. Without knowing what to expect, we went to the hospital. Despite Richard's broken leg and bruises, we were relieved to find him alive. Here, things get tough. The accident responding officer visited us while Richard was hospitalized. He said Richard's automobile had open alcohol containers and his blood alcohol level was high. Ella was devastated. That moment dashed her hopes for Richard's future. She cried in the hospital waiting. My anger prevented me from comforting her. Richard risked death. He missed a great job that may have supported his kids. A few days after Richard left the hospital, Ella approached him. He cried and admitted to drinking for years before splitting. He said it helped him cope with unemployment and shame over not supporting his family. Our uncle's lengthy alcoholism sprang to mind with this news. It broke up our extended family and took a long time to heal. We might do the same with Richard, I thought. Ella separated. Her rage at Richard for jeopardizing everyone. She knew he needed help. After heated debate, the conclusion was reached. Richard accepted rehab. He can't visit the kids alone throughout treatment. Ella will update him twice a week via video chat on Jill and Jack. Explaining this to kids was hard. Due to her age, Jill had many difficult questions. Thank goodness Jack was too young to understand. Ella explicó a ellos que su padre necesitaba hospitalización especial. The news shocked our parents. They apologized to Ella and me for missing signs. They've helped with kids and Richard's treatment. Even though it took a major event to unify us, having them back has been comforting. My mind is still processing. I'm furious with Richard for jeopardizing so many, but I hope he gets help. Helping Ella and the kids through this difficult time is my top priority. Ella is strong. She informed the kids in an age-appropriate manner that their dad is ill and seeking therapy. She attends Ellen and meetings for self-help. I've been trying to normalize Jill and Jack's time with me, including baking and watching movies, despite their confusion and sadness. Jack is clingy, and Jill suffers nightmares. Despite the emotional roller coaster and lengthy road ahead, I'm cautiously hopeful that this could be a turning point for Richard and his relationship with his kids. Time will tell. Today, we're taking it day by day. Ella puts her kids and rehabilitation first. As Richard recovers, I'm attempting to be my family's supportive sister and aunt. I learned about communication, not jumping to conclusions, and family dynamics intricacy from this occurrence. Though difficult, I think we'll all be stronger. Thanks for watching and sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next drama-filled episode. She once rejected me and chose another. Now, out of a toxic relationship, she says she still loves me, but I don't feel the same anymore. Lena, 28 female, and I met in a recreational volleyball league 3 years ago. Our team practiced twice a week and played weekend matches. Our friends formed that way. We had drinks or meals after every practice at 8. Corporate lawyer Chase, 30 male, was here. Lena caught my eye immediately. She was like this, not only in appearance but in energy. She loved teaching high school science and often had funny anecdotes about her students. Lena spoke most in our group after practice. Chase was also first intrigued by her. He always sat next to her and walked her to her car when we went out. Our group bonded in the first year. We shared birthdays, moved apartments, and went to Cape Cod for a weekend. Lena became more attractive to me throughout this time. She crossed my mind during work meetings and grocery shopping. We frequently texted about various topics, such as a hilarious dog she spotted on her way to work, a new restaurant, or book TV program recommendations. After a year and a half with Lena, I told her how I felt. It was difficult to decide. Changing our friendship kept me up at night. What if she declined? Would our relationship suffer? Would it affect all our friends? I pondered these questions for weeks. One night after practice, I invited Lena to coffee. Just us two. Near the gym, we visited this small cafe. I recall everything about that time. I saw the chipped blue mug in front of me, the espresso machine hum, and the dusk light through the windows. I informed Lena that my love for her had gone beyond friendship and asked if she would date me. Lena took what seemed like hours to respond to her coffee. She stated she loved our friendship but not me. She said she wasn't searching for a relationship because she was considering applying for a master's program. I spent hours staring at my ceiling at home that night. Despite the hurt, I appreciated her rejection. I avoided acting differently around her for several weeks. We kept playing volleyball, hanging out, and texting. The rejection pain dissipated as I focused on going forward. After rejecting me, Lena started dating Chase within 2 months. They revealed themselves during our Friday night drinks while holding hands. The sight hit me hard. They received congrats from everyone while I tried to absorb what was happening. She wasn't only dating someone else. She explicitly stated she didn't desire a relationship at that time. Seeing them together showed me her rejection wasn't about timing or priorities. She wasn't interested in me. I felt something change then. I lost interest in Lena. Not out of spite or resentment, but because shared passion is essential for my romantic desire. Without exchange, such feelings were trapped. I remained friends with Lena and Chase despite this news. I wanted Lena to be happy. Chase making her happy is fine with me. We still play volleyball, but I miss some after becoming CFO. Lena and I still texted, joked, and told stories. She became close friends with my sister, Claire, 32 female, with whom she went shopping and had lunch every few weeks. Thank goodness they connected. Claire wanted Boston friends after moving there recently. Chase and Lena split months ago. Our group was shocked, because they always appeared like a fantastic match. Chase stopped attending our meetings first, then Lena. When she joined us, she was quieter, and less herself. I discovered the truth 3 weeks ago. Shaking, Claire called me. Lena showed images of arm and back bruising. Chase abused her physically and emotionally. He continually judged her, monitored her phone, and cut her off from friends. This news left me flabbergasted. My longtime friend Chase, who laughed with us and helped us move apartments, was torturing Lena behind closed doors. Lena spent more time with Claire and at my house after this discovery. We encouraged her without pressuring her. She was improving, but I thought she needed professional help to digest things. Lena visited my apartment 2 weeks ago. We drank wine and chatted about nothing important. A new Netflix program, volleyball season, weather. 2 people can hardly stand in my tiny kitchen without knocking into each other. Lena kissed me while we laughed. I left the kiss after 10 seconds. I joked about the wine being stronger than expected. Lena laughed too, agreeing it was booze. Shortly after, she left to create lesson plans for tomorrow. Lena returned to my door the next morning. She asked to talk with red eyes. Sitting on my couch, she said she had loved me for months. She wished we had started our relationship earlier. Lena says she initially declined Chase's invitation. He kept delivering flowers to her school and bringing takeout from her favorite restaurant to her apartment until she agreed to a date. She felt rushed into the relationship. Lena thought she and I might have met if Chase hadn't pushed so hard. I listened to what she said, having chaotic feelings. After she stopped being romantic, I told her I loved her as a friend, but no longer loved her. I didn't feel excited about dating her anymore. Lena's face fell. She wondered whether I was rejecting her out of revenge after years of rejection. I assure her that wasn't the case, but secretly I knew her initial rejection had affected my view of her. Once I discovered she didn't share my romantic feelings, they never returned. It wasn't revenge. My initial need was shared enthusiasm. Lena seemed distraught leaving my flat. Claire called me that night, angry I rejected Lena. She said Lena was my perfect match and I was nasty and vengeful. Claire claimed that Chase, a textbook narcissist, had twisted Lena, and I was punishing her for nothing. Lena texted me the next day, requesting solitude. She suggested we quit seeing each other. This upsets me because I tried to keep our friendship despite my sad sentiments when she rejected me years ago. I still consider Lena a friend and hope we can reconnect. I granted her space and plan to contact her when things calm down. Claire needed to be told about limits and asked to leave first. 2 weeks have passed since I posted, and things have taken some unexpected turns. Claire joined me for lunch the day after my post. She silently read the Reddit thread on my phone while I picked up my omelet. Her phone was put down and she apologized after reading. Claire agreed that she shouldn't meddle and pledged to back my decision. She even agreed with many commenters that Lena and I should be apart for now. My chat with Claire went better than expected, and I was relieved to resolve at least one stress. After much counsel and my own instincts, I chose to stay away from Lena. We had time to process because I didn't text or phone her. A week after meeting Claire, I attended a friend's Cambridge housewarming celebration. The apartment was full of people, music was loud, and everyone seemed happy. After a hard week at work, I went home around midnight, exhausted. When I got to my building, the front desk clerk said Lena was waiting. Unsure what was so essential that she needed to see me at midnight, I allowed her up. Lena was looking better after months. She smiled broadly and had sparkling eyes when she saw me. She hugged me like she missed me and wanted to hang out. Lena said she saw my party Instagram story and asked our common buddy where I was. When she heard I left early, she came over. I had a few drinks while talking to Lena after drinking at the party. We reminisced about our week apart in a relaxed manner. Lena kissed me again in my kitchen. Due to drink and familiarity, I didn't stop her this time. Lena slept. I got up first the next morning, my head hammering from the cocktails. I went to fetch coffee while Lena slept, unsure what transpired. She was showering when I returned. I waited on the bed with coffees, knowing we had to chat. Lena requested to speak. She admitted I could believe she was using me as a rebound or backup following Chase, but she assured her feelings were genuine. She wanted to show me we could work together and be a couple. I told Lena I was confused. Though the night before had been pleasant, I still didn't feel the same way about her as she did about me. I said my feelings for her were not romantic. Lena sobbed and asked if she could alter my mind. I advised us to take a break to calm down. Perhaps we could revisit the conversation with clearer heads and repair our friendship. But seeing each other now will hurt more. Lena cried more but agreed. After breakfast and easy discussion, she departed my apartment a few hours later. I paced my apartment after she departed, shaken by all that happened. Despite our physical intimacy, my feelings remained the same. Although it was harder than expected, I knew a clean break was right. Later, I realized sleeping with Lena was wrong. Alcohol clouded my judgment, sending confusing signals when she needed clarity. Coffee I brought back wasn't a boyfriend gift. Coffee preceded an uncomfortable conversation. I think Lena needs time to recover from Chase. Abuse produces profound wounds that take time to heal. Therefore, she may not be ready for another relationship. My romantic sentiments for Lena are 95% gone. The night we spent together caused some doubt. But it was due to our physical connection, not my mood. I will maintain our clean break for now. It feels like our cleanest, nicest path forward. Update 2. A month has passed since my last post, and Lena's position has worsened unexpectedly. After Lena departed my flat after our night, I banned contact. 2 days later, she texted to discuss. I said I didn't like it, and that we needed time apart for now. After that, Lena texted several times. First saying she understood, then saying we'd be great together, and eventually saying I was wrong to push her away. These texts stopped coming after I didn't react. I reluctantly admit that our friendship was probably over. That knowledge made me sad, but I thought we had to move on and find pleasure elsewhere. For a year, I've worked with Sophie, 29F, a legal consultant, on a significant acquisition deal. Sophie's intelligence, passion, and wit make even the most tiresome contract reviews tolerable. During our months of working together, I had strong feelings for her, but never acted on them due to our professional connection. I asked Sophie out for coffee months ago, but she graciously rejected it, saying it wouldn't be acceptable while we were working on the sale. I fully respected her boundaries and agreed. We completed our acquisition 2 weeks ago. I invited Sophie to dinner to celebrate after the firm received the announcement email. She smiled and agreed immediately, as if she'd been waiting for this. First date went great. Conversations naturally moved from business to personal interests and objectives. Sophie said she informed her friends about me months ago, which astonished me because I did the same. The challenge of working together while being attracted made us chuckle. Sophie returned to my apartment after the date. Lena lacked our natural mutual connection. Sophie contacted me 2 days later. Our coffee appointment was requested quickly. Sophie was anxious and pushed her phone across the cafe table as I arrived. Lena's LinkedIn message appeared. Lena found out about Sophie and me. She informed Sophie of our relationship in her first communication. Lena said her and I were going through a rough patch. After Sophie didn't react, Lena sent another message accusing me of manipulating women, serial dating and hurting women who fell for me. Sophie was naturally alarmed by these messages. She liked me but didn't want to get engaged in romantic drama. She suggested we quit seeing each other before things escalated. I told Lena the whole story to avoid losing Sophie to false allegations. Sophie saw my original Reddit post about the event. After reading everything, Sophie consented to visit me, but I could see the episode had shaken her trust in our promising relationship. Lena's attempt to ruin my connection with Sophie upset me. I pondered addressing Lena and saying hurtful things. I've never retaliated, even when provoked. However, Sophie and I blocked Lena on all social media and communication methods. I called Claire to tell her, and Lena's behavior startled her too. Claire said she wasn't in touch with Lena anymore, which I trusted. I chose not to notify our mutual friends about Lena's situation. Some friends may only hear Lena's account, but I'm keeping my personal life secret. Only LinkedIn remains for professional reasons after I canceled most social media accounts. Many reviewers on my prior postings told me Lena might be manipulative or unstable, but I ignored them. I now see what they saw that I missed due to our friendship. If Lena contacts me again, I'll set boundaries. I wonder if Lena's friendship with Chase affects her more than we thought. Her destructive behavior may have been taught by an abusive relationship. Despite my anger at her behavior, I remember Lena as compassionate, witty and passionate about teaching, and I see how much she's changed. Update 3. I wanted to inform you on how things went after 3 months. After Lena tried to interfere with my relationship with Sophie, she didn't contact us for a month. Her presence at places she knew I may have increased. She visited my gym, the coffee shop near my office during lunch, then a restaurant where I was having dinner with coworkers. I avoid interaction, and depart swiftly every time. I resolved to take direct action after 5 coincidental meetings. A lawyer urged me to write Lena an official no-contact letter. The letter indicated that I did not want to engage with her, and that any attempts to contact me or visit me would be harassment. Lena emailed me and Sophie a lengthy email 2 days after the letter arrived. She apologized and said she had started therapy to cope with her connection with Chase. She wrote that she admits her actions were wrong and will respect our boundaries. I ignored the email per my lawyer's advice. We agreed to keep Lena out of touch after discussing it with Sophie. Despite the earnest apology, the relationship was too damaged to renew. Claire briefly contacted Lena after the apology email. Claire reports that Lena regrets her behavior and is addressing major concerns related to her relationship with Chase. Claire and Lena met for coffee once, but Claire felt it would be disloyal to me and complex given the past. The drama eventually disbanded our volleyball team. Some friends stayed with me, others with Lena, and some left, uneasy. Some days I miss those friendships, but I know why. Sophie and I have been dating for 4 months. My relationship with Lena was complicated, but this one went smoothly. We have agreed to move in together when my lease ends next month. Working together goes nicely. We're professional at work, but enjoy our personal lives. I learned via mutual contacts that Chase moved to Chicago for work. No one in our former buddy circle talks to him, and Lena filed a police report about the abuse, but didn't press charges. Time has allowed me to process everything. My experience with Lena showed me the importance of setting boundaries and ending friendships. I'm no longer angry at Lena, but I don't want to see her. Through this, Claire and I have become closer as friends. Now a trusted confidant, her friendship with Sophie is growing. We have weekly dinners and feel like we're establishing a healthy social group. I learned from this that sometimes the hardest actions, like cutting ties with a loved one, are vital for your well-being. Moving forward requires letting go, even if it hurts. I appreciate building a life with respectful limits and open communication. Thank you to everyone who advised and supported me during this difficult time. Your advice helped me manage difficult emotions and make better choices. I'll stop posting updates now that this chapter is over. Move on to the next story. Story 2. My jobless cousin bullied my sister after my parents let him stay. My parents chose him over us when I defended her. I'm a 25 female and live with my parents while finishing my social work master's. Our family has always been close despite sibling rivalries and disagreements. I'm the middle child between my older brother Jake, 28 male, and younger sister Mia, 21 female. Our parents raised us to always look out for each other. Our parents David, 55 male, and Linda, 53 female, have always supported our goals. They encouraged us to study, even if it meant staying home to save money. Due to this, I don't pay rent but contribute to utilities and groceries. Our arrangement has worked wonderfully for years. Jake returned home last year after quitting his marketing job. When his firm restructured, he was living in the city and climbing the corporate ladder. He lost his job and struggled to pay rent in his luxury apartment. Jake returned home to regroup and find his footing, so our parents welcomed him. Mia, the youngest, attends community college at home. She's always been our most sensitive and artistic. Mia is pursuing her photography passion, while Jake and I choose more traditional careers. Our parents are supportive but worried about her field's financial security. Our cousin Alex, 23 million, came to be with us 2 months ago, changing our life. My mom's sister's son, Alex, was our vacation and summer companion. He was always the life of the party, quick with a joke and never took anything seriously. Alex struggled despite his easygoing exterior. Alex struggled with his parents' breakup throughout high school. He acted out, got in trouble, and quit college after a semester. He's bounced between jobs for years, never finding his niche. His recent relationship with Sarah seemed to change him. Alex seemed to be settling down and planning his future for the first time in years. We were surprised when Alex arrived 2 months earlier, looking lost and defeated. He said Sarah broke up with him and kicked him out of their flat. He was too embarrassed to return to his mother's house and had nowhere else to go. Since our parents are loving, they offered him our guest room till he recovered. All appeared well at first. Alex was appreciative for the support and tried to help around the house. He did the dishes, mowed the lawn, and helped Jake with job applications without being asked. We hoped this would wake Alex up and change his life. After a month with Alex, I noticed a difference in household dynamics. It started off subtly, a snarky remark or a backhanded compliment. Most comments seemed to target Mia. I originally dismissed it as Alex's regular mocking. He'd always been a jokester, even as a kid. As time went on, I couldn't ignore the pattern. Alex seemed to intentionally upset Mia. Alex said, "Isn't that skirt a little short for a family dinner?" Or, "I bet you're trying to impress that barista at the coffee shop." When Mia talked about her photography projects, Alex rolled his eyes and said something about starving artists. I tried to discuss it discreetly with Alex. I approached him in the kitchen one afternoon when everyone was out. I said, "Hey Alex," attempting to be casual. "I've noticed you've been pretty hard on Mia lately. Is everything okay?" Alex shrugged, grabbed a beer from the fridge. "I'm joking," he said. "Mia must toughen up to succeed in life. Besides, it's not my fault if she can't take a joke." "I didn't want to create house tension," he said. "I choose to monitor the situation." I spent more time in the common areas while Alex and Mia were home to deter misbehavior. Mia was increasing her withdrawal. Her living room was her favorite spot for sketching and laptop photo processing. She mostly holds up in her room now. After hesitating, she told me Alex's comments were hurting her. "I can't do anything right while he's around," she said, crying. "But I don't want to tell Mom and Dad. By keeping Alex, they're doing so much." I assure Mia that her feelings were valid, and that she had a right to feel comfortable at home. Mia asked me not to tell our parents about the situation. Alex was already struggling, and she didn't want to cause controversy. A family supper last week resolved matters. All of us were at the table for Mom's excellent lasagna. The conversation started lightly with Jake mentioning a promising employment opportunity and Dad planning a weekend fishing vacation. Suddenly Mia revealed that she was going on a date with a photography classmate. Alex's demeanor changed when she spoke. His sparkle in his eyes made me apprehensive as he leaned forward. Well, he sarcastically remarked. "It appears our tiny Mia is finally expressing herself." Mia flushed red and stared at her plate as Alex interrogated her about the guy, asking increasingly personal and inappropriate questions. "So, is this guy aware of your, shall we say, limited experience? Or, are you planning to fake it till you make it?" He sneezed. I saw Mia shrinking in her chair, mortified. I tried to change the subject by asking Dad about his fishing trip, but Alex kept going. He turned to me and narrowed his eyes. "What's the matter, sis? Afraid little Mia can't handle a little teasing? Or are you jealous that she has a date and you don't?" "Enough, Alex," I snap. "You're a guest in this house, and you need to show some respect. Just because your life is a mess doesn't mean you can take it out on Mia or anyone else." The table fell silent, and everyone stared at me in shock. Alex's face contorted with anger. He stood up suddenly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You know what? I don't need this. I'm out of here." He stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. The silence was deafening. Dad cleared his throat and said, "I think we all need to calm down." Slowly. "Alex is family and he's going through a tough time. We need to be more understanding." I couldn't believe the words. "Dad, did you not hear how he was talking to Mia? To all of us? That's not okay. Tough time or not." Mom tried to intervene, suggesting we take a breather and discuss things when everyone had calmed down. But Alex didn't return for 2 days. When he did, my parents called a family meeting. They said Alex would be staying with us for at least another month and that we needed to get along. I tried to explain Alex's behavior toward Mia, but my parents dismissed it as cousin rivalry and told us to resolve it ourselves. Now the house is unbearably tense. Alex hardly speaks to me, throwing me dirty looks anytime we're in the same room. Mia appears more reclusive than ever, spending practically all her time in her closed room. Jake has been avoiding it, saying it's not his concern. I feel like I'm the only one standing up for Mia, but I'm not sure if I crossed a line with what I said to Alex. Should I apologize to keep the peace or stand my ground? I don't want to make things worse for Mia, but I don't think it's right to let Alex treat her this way in our home. I don't know what to do next. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, and I wish I could say things have improved, but the situation has only escalated. After much internal debate, I decided to try to reconcile with Alex. One morning in the kitchen, I apologized for my harsh words at dinner and explained that while I still cared about Mia, I could have expressed it more tactfully. Alex seemed to accept my apology, even cracking a smile and saying, "Water under the bridge, cuz." I felt hopeful that we could move past this and cooperate peacefully. Despite our apparent reconciliation, Alex's behavior toward Mia hasn't improved at all. If anything, it seems to have gotten worse, as if he's trying to make up for lost time. He's become more subtle in his jabs, making innocent-sounding comments with a clear mockery undercurrent. I helped Mia choose her outfit and gave her a pep talk before she left for her date with the guy from her photography class last weekend. She had been nervous all week, changing her outfit multiple times and worrying about every detail. As she left, I felt protective sisterly pride. Alex was watching a basketball game on the couch in the living room when Mia came home later that night. When she came in, he muted the TV and sat up, displaying a predatory grin. "Well, well, look who's doing the walk of shame," he said, his voice dripping with insinuation. Mia tried to brush him off, mumbling a quick goodnight as she headed upstairs. Alex wasn't ready to let her off the hook, so he started grilling her about the date, getting more crass and invasive. "Come on, Mia, don't be shy," he said. "Did he get to second base or did you strike out again?" I was in the kitchen doing dishes, but I heard everything. "Alex, that's enough," I said firmly. "Mia doesn't have to tell you about her date." Alex held up his hands and mocked surrender. "Whoa, easy there, big sis. I'm just looking out for my little cousin. Someone's got to make sure she's not getting taken advantage of, right?" He turned back to Mia, his voice becoming patronizing. Mia snapped, releasing months of pent-up rage as she shouted, "Shut up, Alex. Quit talking. I'm weary of your jokes and comments. Not hilarious. I feel horrible and they're useless." The room became silent as Alex and I were astonished by Mia's scream. Then Alex laughed, a harsh mocking sound that made my skin crawl. "Wow, looks like tiny Mia finally got a backbone." He sneezed. "Maybe now you can keep a guy interested for more than one day." I was furious and stepped between Alex and Mia, my voice low and dangerous. "That's it, Alex. You need to apologize right now or I swear to God." Alex stood up to his full height. "Run to mommy and daddy again. They don't care. They're too busy feeling sorry for poor miserable Alex to realize what's really going on." He went off to the guest room, slamming the door so hard that the portraits on the wall rattled. Mia cried, and I spent the next hour comforting her in her bed. Between sobs, she admitted that Alex's behavior had been getting worse over the past few weeks, and that she was afraid to be alone in the house with him, always locking her door at night. The next day, I decided to have a serious talk with our parents. I waited until Alex had left for a job interview, or so he said, before sitting them down in the living room. My parents' reaction was shocking and disappointing. My mom shook her hands nervously, her brow furrowed with concern. But not for Mia. I explained everything that had been happening, from Alex's constant belittling comments to the incident after Mia's date. I emphasized how uncomfortable and unsafe Mia was feeling in her own home. "Honey," she said, "you may be exaggerating. Alex is struggling so much. Alex lost his job, girlfriend, and home at once, so it's no wonder he's behaving out. Mia's young. Are you serious? I asked, my voice rising in disbelief. Alex is an adult. His hard time doesn't give him the right to harass Mia or anyone else. She doesn't feel safe in her own home. My parents exchanged a look that made my stomach drop. My father grew stern. We appreciate that you're trying to help your sister, but you need to stay out of this. Alex is family, and we won't kick him out when he has nowhere else to go. So what? We just let him keep treating Mia like this? I demanded. My mother sobbed. We'll talk to Alex. We're not kicking anyone out, but if you keep causing problems, we may have to adjust our financial support. Your tuition isn't cheap, you know. I felt slapped. I couldn't believe my parents were prioritizing Alex's comfort over Mia's safety and using my education to keep me quiet. I stormed out of the room, my mind reeling. Now I'm at a loss. Mia is miserable. Alex is unapologetic. My parents seem determined to ignore everything. Jake still wants to help, saying it's not his problem, but I feel like I'm the only one trying to protect Mia, and I'm afraid of the consequences if I push too hard. I'm starting to wonder if I should move out, but I don't know how I'd afford it while finishing my degree. Leaving Mia alone makes me sick, but I'm running out of options. Does anyone have any advice on how to support Mia without alienating my family or jeopardizing my education? I feel trapped in an impossible situation and don't know what to do. Update 2. The past week has been a roller coaster of emotions and events that I'm still processing. After my last update, I felt trapped. My parents refused to acknowledge Alex's seriousness, leaving me feeling helpless and frustrated. I knew I needed to do something more concrete to protect Mia, but I was afraid of overstepping or making things worse. After much internal debate, I made a decision I'm still not comfortable with. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, which is unethical and possibly illegal, but I needed evidence to show my parents that they couldn't deny it. I borrowed a small camera from a friend in my program and carefully placed it on an angled bookshelf to capture most of the living room and part of the kitchen. After 3 days of anxiously checking the footage each night when everyone was asleep, I saw nothing particularly damning, just the usual family comings and goings. But on the 4th day, Alex cornered Mia in the kitchen while she was getting a glass of water. He blocked her path, leaning in close as he spoke. The audio was muffled, but I could hear Mia's fear as she asked him to move. Alex reached out and tried to touch her face, but she jerked away, knocking over her glass. As water spilled across the counter, Mia ducked under Alex's arm and ran upstairs. I was shaking with anger as I watched the footage. This was no longer about snide comments or inappropriate jokes, this was physically intimidating. I went to confront Alex, but he wasn't in the house. I found Mia curled up on her bed with her headphones on. She cried when I showed her the video, admitting that Alex had been getting more physical with his jokes in recent weeks. We showed our parents the video when they got home from work. My mom cried and my dad turned red with anger. Instead of yelling at Alex, he yelled at me. You violated everyone's privacy. What were you thinking? I was shocked. I tried to talk about Alex's behavior, but my parents kept talking about me breaking their trust and how low I would go. When I told my dad that the camera had caught Alex assaulting Mia, he said, it was probably just a misunderstanding, as if to say that Alex was probably just teasing. Mia, who had been quiet throughout the confrontation, stood up and said, I can't believe you're defending him, shaking her head. I'm not safe here anymore. I want to leave. That's when I knew we had to leave. I told my parents they were failing to protect their daughter and that I couldn't stand by and watch. I helped Mia pack a bag, threw some of my own things in, and we left that night. Jake finally intervenes and is trying to mediate between us and our parents, but they're more concerned about me overreacting and dividing the family than Alex's behavior. If I don't apologize for the camera incident at home, they'll cut me off financially. I'm looking into getting Mia and me our own place, but it's going to be tight. I'm also considering going to the police with the video footage, but I'm worried about Mia. How do I protect Mia and myself while dealing with the fallout from my family? Has anyone dealt with unsupportive parents? Update 3. A month has passed since my last update, and so much has changed. After much discussion with Mia and advice from a domestic violence hotline, we decided to file a police report about Alex's behavior. It was hard, but we knew it was necessary for our safety and to prevent Alex from harming others. The officers who took our statement were understanding and professional. They reviewed my video footage and took detailed accounts from Mia and me about Alex's behavior. They said Alex's actions may have been harassment rather than assault, but the video of him cornering Mia was particularly concerning. The police also interviewed our parents and Jake, which seemed to wake them up to the seriousness of the situation. Mom called me in tears, apologizing for not believing us sooner, and begging us to come home. Dad was more reserved, but Jake said he seemed shaken by the police involvement. We also contacted our aunt, Alex's mother, to let her know what was going on. Instead of defending Alex, she broke down and revealed that this wasn't the first time he had shown inappropriate behavior toward women. The family had swept away incidents in high school and college, hoping Alex would grow out of it. Due to the police report and investigation, Alex is now facing charges of harassment and attempted sexual assault. He's been ordered to stay away from Mia and me and is no longer living at our parents' house. Last I heard, he's staying with a friend and must attend counseling. Mom has been calling daily to check on us and offering to pay for Mia's therapy. Dad is still struggling to accept everything, but he's trying. He helped us move our remaining things out of the house and respects our need for space. Jake has surprisingly stepped up in a big way. He's been mediating between us and our parents, helping them understand our perspective. He's also supported our decision to involve the police, saying he wishes he had taken our concerns more seriously earlier. Mia and I have found a small, affordable apartment. It's not much, but it's ours and safe. I work part-time at a local community center to cover expenses, and Mia does freelance photography. Juggling work, school, and our new living situation is difficult, but we're managing. I told my graduate advisor about my education. They were very understanding and helped me create a more flexible schedule. I may have to extend my program by a semester, but I'm determined to finish my degree. We're taking things day by day, focusing on healing and moving forward. I've learned that trusting your instincts and asking for help are crucial. Thank you to everyone who gave advice and support throughout this ordeal. Your words of encouragement meant more than you know. If anyone else is in a similar circumstance, please ask for help. You're not alone and deserve home safety. Thanks for watching and being part of the drama. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a wild news story. My sister-in-law demanded me leave my own home during her baby shower. Am I the asshole for venting to her husband? For the last 3 years, I have been married. Although he has been living away from home for work, my spouse and I have been together for 5 years. He returns home every other weekend to spend time with us, and we're doing the long-distance thing. Shortly before he left, we purchased our own home a few months ago. It's convenient for me to see my parents and for them to visit me because it's a lovely location near their home. It's quite spacious and has beautiful architecture, which is perfect for me because I adore the feeling of living alone. I love living in this lovely home in a fantastic neighborhood. I got a lot of praise when I hosted my housewarming party. My sister-in-law, Carrie, was the one who seemed to like the place the best out of everyone. She was gushing about it non-stop. Although we are not close friends, Carrie and I have always gotten along well. I immediately said yes when she asked if she could have her baby shower at my house. I agreed for a few reasons, despite the fact that we are not close. I didn't want to say no to her because she is pregnant. I also thought it would be wonderful to meet new people and have a change of environment because I spend a lot of time alone. For the event, I even took a day off. Because I had such a lovely home and didn't want to spend a lot of money renting a location, she insisted on holding the baby shower at my house. Though smaller and less striking, her home was nonetheless pleasant. Her flattery must have been effective since I was unable to say no. Furthermore, she had always been kind to me, so I had no excuse to say no. I had no idea what was going to happen. She made no hint that I wouldn't be welcome during the planning phase. Everything involved me. For the past few weeks, she has come to see me virtually every day to go over the specifics, including the cuisine, decor, and catering. I was looking forward to the occasion and believed that this would strengthen our relationship. I assisted the decorators in setting up the venue on the day of the event. Carrie arrived about an hour before the guests were scheduled to arrive and thanked me for everything. She talked to me like a friend and behaved normally. But she asked me where I would want to spend the next couple of hours, 15 minutes before the guests were expected to arrive. I was surprised and assumed she was kidding. It was my house, after all, and I had expected to be there. I had purchased a gift for her and dressed appropriately. She genuinely responded that she wasn't joking when I inquired. She made a few seemingly good arguments that I hadn't thought of because I was too busy assisting her. Carrie informed me that I wasn't even on the guest list and hadn't gotten an invitation. To be honest, I was aware of that but didn't mind because I assumed I would be invited and included in the celebration. Ultimately, I had assisted in organizing it and was letting her use my home without requiring her to pay for a location. Given that Carrie and I didn't have a particularly strained relationship, I believe that anyone in my situation would have made the same assumption. Why in the world would I think I wouldn't be attending the event? She apologized for the mistake after I informed her just that. She said that because I'm a banker and not a party or event planner, she had assumed that I was assisting her in a professional capacity, which was absurd. Her presumption was absurd. She told me she didn't want to argue, so I guess my face was a reflection of how upset I was. She maintained that since she was pregnant, she didn't want to become stressed out, thus now wasn't the time for small-minded arguments. She then informed me that I had to leave because only her personal family and close friends were invited to the occasion. I regrettably didn't make the cut for what was meant to be a small, private event. Because she didn't want to start a commotion, she requested me to leave before the visitors arrived. This is when I was angry. I didn't know where else to go, so I stormed out of the room and headed to the backyard. I attempted to phone my husband to voice my displeasure with his sister's actions, but he was unable to do so due to work obligations. I decided to do something unconventional because I was frustrated and needed to vent. I called her husband Jim. Jim is a reserved, quiet individual. Although I haven't had much contact with him, he has been married to Carrie for 2 years and has been with her for 4. I went on a tirade about how disappointed and wounded I was as I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time after I was done. I told him that I felt unable to speak to Carrie directly without running the danger of offending a pregnant woman, and I apologized for venting to him. He might be able to talk her out of it, I hoped. Jim's apology on her behalf made me feel less anxious. That would be ridiculous, he said, so I really didn't need to leave my own home. He urged me to wait and promised to come over in a few minutes because he didn't want Carrie and I to get into a heated disagreement. Jim showed up before any of the visitors, as promised. I entered the house when the doorbell rang, and the 3 of us stood in the living room. When Carrie saw him, she was obviously shocked. Jim forcefully stepped in and assured me that there was no reason for me to leave and that I could attend the baby shower. When Carrie attempted to object, Jim gave her a stern look, so she remained silent. She continued to glare at me the rest of the time. I decided I was never going to talk to her again. I even thought about calling off the baby shower, but I decided against it. I didn't want all of the work I had put into organizing the event to go in vain. In addition, I didn't feel the need to cancel once Jim showed up, and I didn't have the heart to do so either. I made the decision to give the evening its due and to cut off any communication with Carrie after it ended. I couldn't say the same about her, but I remained dignified and graceful the entire time. Jim apologized to me once again for everything after the baby shower ended. But Carrie wouldn't even look at me. Jim also expressed regret about that as I was getting needless hostility from her. It was annoying to see her think I didn't belong at the gathering and that I had pushed my way in. Finally, the agony was over, at least. I contacted my husband after they departed and filled him in on everything. I told him not to, at least not that night, even though he was furious and wanted to talk to his sister. I didn't want more arguments and thought it would only make things worse. All I needed was some quiet. But for me, serenity wasn't in the cards. My in-laws called me the following morning, and they were really upset. They informed me that Carrie and Jim got into a heated argument when they got home from the baby shower. Jim had made the decision to go and was not talking to Carrie or any of her relatives, including my in-laws. This was startling because Jim had always gotten along well with his in-laws, who were his parents' longtime family friends. Following the altercation, Jim's whole family made it apparent that they didn't want to communicate with Carrie and her family by blocking them on social media and elsewhere. Carrie and my in-laws seemed to think that if I had simply sucked it up and followed Carrie's instructions, none of this would have occurred, but I couldn't see why I was being pulled into it. The fact that they were attempting to place the responsibility on me while Carrie was clearly at fault struck me as ridiculous. I snapped at them, telling them that I wouldn't accept responsibility for something that wasn't my fault. Carrie had shown no gratitude. She humiliated me by informing me I couldn't attend an event in my own home, even though I had kindly let her host the baby shower for free at my house. She didn't think I was close enough to her family, therefore she wanted me to go. I informed them that Carrie wouldn't have dared to do this if my husband had been around. I also assured them that I didn't regret telling Jim about her actions. Since he was the only sensible person in the circumstance, I trusted Jim's judgment and knew he was making the proper choice if he decided he had had enough and wanted to leave. I didn't think I had done anything wrong, and I didn't think Jim was doing anything wrong, so I wasn't going to try to make things right. He had my support if he desired a divorce. I had no intention of contacting him or retracting anything. My in-laws would be dissatisfied if they called to beg me to talk to him and make this right since I wouldn't do it. I hung up after saying that. They have been making every effort to get me to reply, but we haven't spoken since. They keep claiming that any issues were between Carrie and me, so even though I haven't blocked them yet, I'm thinking about it. I don't see their reasoning when they say that I had no justification for including Jim in this. I chose to inform Carrie's husband about it, even if it was just between us. I thought he should be aware as he is also a member of the family. Considering how terrible she was acting and how unappreciative she had been, I don't think I did anything wrong by telling him. I trusted that her husband, being sensible, would deal with it properly, so I thought he should know. Despite their best efforts to control the situation and make me feel guilty, I don't feel guilty at all. They keep claiming that her child might not have a father role in their life as a result of my choice. They're framing it that way, but I believe it's a stretch. To that, I'm not even sure how to react. Even though my spouse doesn't believe I did anything wrong, their comments are making me doubt myself, which is the only reason I haven't blocked them yet. He has informed me that he will speak with his parents to assist them see that Carrie was to blame and not me. He feels that rather than targeting me, they ought to concentrate on helping her. I don't know how to respond to this. Although I don't feel sorry for them, their actions suggest that they won't be letting this go anytime soon. All I want is for this to end. I don't currently have any answers because I also don't know why Carrie behaved in that manner. Am I to blame for bringing up our disagreement with my sister-in-law's husband and letting him know how she acted? First update. Nearly a week has passed since the baby shower. Jim and Carrie are currently going through a final divorce. He made the big news announcement on social media, but she hasn't made any public comments. Although I didn't anticipate it happening so quickly, it appears that he has already filed the petition and that the proceedings will shortly begin. Since Jim returned to living with his parents, they have been living apart. Even though I wasn't sure whether it was proper after everything that had transpired, I was able to talk to Jim. Although I felt a little bad about it, my spouse recommended that someone in our family get in touch. Jim was obviously keeping the lines of communication open for us because we were the only two individuals he had not blocked. I made the decision to call him. I didn't present it as an apology when I told him I was sorry for all that was going on. I didn't present it as an apology, but I did say that I was generally sorry for everything. I suppose Jim could sense my shame in spite of it. He gave me his word that I didn't have to feel bad about it or hold myself responsible. He claimed to have been on edge for a while. I felt I needed answers, so after some trepidation, I texted him back to find out what was actually happening. And I got them, boy. I told him I wanted to learn more when we got on the phone. I had no idea why Carrie didn't want me to the baby shower, so he agreed that I deserved some explanation. The only explanation she gave, as best as I can tell, was that she only wanted her immediate relatives present. She had, however, invited a number of people who, as far as I knew, weren't very close to her. I was aware that some of the guests on the guest list didn't appear to be any closer to her than I was. Since I had nothing against anyone on the list and, as far as I knew, no one had anything against me, it didn't make sense that I wasn't on it. Carrie's true reason for not wanting me there was disclosed by Jim. One of her pals, whom she was making a valiant effort to impress, was supposed to be there. This friend had wed into a family of rich industrialists. Carrie sought to persuade her friend's husband to invest in her business as she intended to launch her own venture a few months after the birth of her child. Carrie had planned the baby shower in my place to impress this buddy, telling everyone it was hers. She obviously couldn't keep up that lie with me around. She wanted me out for that reason. She hadn't expected me to refuse to go and to stand my position. Fortunately for me, her friend was sick and was unable to attend the occasion. This did not, however, excuse Carrie's cunning actions. Jim confronted Carrie about what she had said to me when they arrived home. In order to impress her buddy and avoid admitting that the house wasn't hers, she acknowledged that she wanted me to remain away. She went out of her way to pretend she had a life she didn't in order to impress someone she went to school with, acting as though her deceit was completely normal. Jim informed her that she needed to apologize to me and that her behavior was unacceptable. He pointed out that rather than being grateful that I had allowed her to organize the event at my house, she had made fun of me. Carrie fought with Jim because she wouldn't accept that what she had done was wrong. This arrogant conduct had been causing them a lot of issues, and it seems that this wasn't the first time she had been found pretending to be someone she wasn't. Jim informed me that it seems they had been coping with such problems for a few years. She underwent a transformation shortly after they were married. She had been attempting to live above their means and present an illusion of luxury and money to impress unimportant people ever since their wedding. Her friends reportedly made disparaging remarks about the arrangements at her wedding, and it looked that she was deeply offended by such remarks. She is an adult, though, and shouldn't be influenced by such trivial matters. If those individuals made fun of her way of life or her financial situation, she ought to have taken them out of her life as they weren't true friends. Furthermore, she and Jim led a regular, pleasant life. It's not like they were impoverished. They might not be able to afford luxury, but they were doing well, and it didn't matter to anyone else. Carrie didn't have to make an impression. Carrie works at a marketing firm and hopes to launch her own business after the baby is born, while Jim is a real estate agent. She has much greater justification to save money rather than squander it on pointless items. Despite their lack of wealth, their stability and comfort should have been sufficient. Jim had made numerous attempts to convey this to Carrie, but it had never been successful. She was constantly making an effort to impress others by doing odd things, which led to constant issues between them. Jim had forgiven it throughout the years because he loved her. In recent months, though, he had found it more difficult to put up with. They needed to be more frugal because they were expecting a kid, but Carrie kept squandering money carelessly as though it didn't matter. Given their financial circumstances, this was particularly troublesome because they were unable to support the lifestyle she was attempting to attain. Jim was getting fed up with her continuing to buy things without asking his permission. Too often they had been fighting over things like this. Jim departed after the altercation at the baby shower because he could no longer stand it. He informed me that, considering the status of their marriage, he would have made this choice sooner or later even if I hadn't called him that day. I didn't have to feel bad about what I did, he told me. I talked to my husband about this, and although he was sorry for Carrie, he couldn't claim that it wasn't justified. Although Jim was not a close friend, we were aware that he had been Carrie's devoted spouse. We assumed he must have given it some thought if he chose to go. Carrie must be going through a really tough time, especially because she is pregnant, so I do feel awful for her. But she caused this for herself. How a mature woman worries so much about the views of a few vapid, gossipy, inconsequential pals is beyond me. She should have moved on from this high school conduct long ago. She is in her 30s. I'm hoping that they can work things out and decide what they want. I believe that Jim will benefit from some time away in order to make the best decision. I will no longer become involved in this. Since I feel like I have nothing else to say to Carrie and my in-laws, I intend to block them both. Whether that means getting back together or finalizing the divorce, I hope they can resolve their differences. Jim sounded unhappy when we spoke, even though he had already announced the divorce. He was interested in trying to make things right and give Carrie another shot. But it appears that he is finding it quite difficult to do so because of her stubbornness. Although this may be a contentious viewpoint, I believe they ought to at least attempt to resolve the conflict. Given that her behavior is out of character for someone in her 40s, Carrie might want to think about going to therapy. It is not sustainable or healthy to try to please unimportant people. For the benefit of their child in particular, I want things to work out. It's never easy to be a kid of divorce, and I wouldn't want my future niece or nephew to experience that. I'm praying for the best and avoiding all of this for the time being. My spouse has made the same decision. My husband is returning home this weekend, so we are getting together. I don't believe he intends to go see his folks this time. All I can say is that I'm glad I have nothing to feel bad about anymore. Second update. We've been chatting since my spouse got back a few hours ago. He informed me that he had been in communication with Jim for the past few days. Jim has stated that he is prepared to give his marriage another try provided Carrie accepts his apology for everything and consents to attend therapy. My husband is attempting to explain this to his sister, but she has not yet replied. According to his parents, Carrie is currently avoiding people because she is sad and needs some alone time. Right now, she seems to be getting the distance she needs from everyone. I hope she makes a sensible decision, but I have no idea what she will decide. Some people accused me of selfishness in relation to my last piece, claiming that my husband and I were being avaricious by refusing to assist Jim and Carrie. Let me start by saying that I have no idea how anyone came to that conclusion. We purchased this home because it was reasonably priced. We wouldn't have bought it if it had been too expensive. Second, Jim and Carrie's financial situation is secure. They wouldn't likely enjoy it if we treated them like they were in need of charity. Since my husband and I share a similar income, they have no reason to require our assistance, and vice versa. Although it's unrelated, I felt compelled to clarify because some people raised it. I was also chastised by several of you for expressing a desire for them to reconcile. You think Jim deserves better, and perhaps he does, but in the end, it's up to him. I don't understand why so many people, who don't even know Jim, feel the need to call me names, spew venom, and brand him a doormat. Despite their present problems, they still love one another, and they are soon to become parents. That is significant. They cannot simply leave one another and pretend that nothing occurred. Yes, I did, and I still hope they can resolve their differences. For now, I believe that's all I have to say. Third update. I just wanted to let you know that Jim and Carrie have made the decision to work on their marriage and patch things up, even though it has been a few weeks since my last report. Despite the fact that Carrie and I are still at odds, I'm quite delighted for them. According to my spouse, they have decided to attend marital therapy for a few months to see the results. They will continue to live apart for the time being. They intend to co-parent for the first several months once the baby is born. They will return to living together if all goes according to plan. That is the future strategy. I'm pleased for them. Since most people seem to want Jim to leave Carrie, I know that this isn't the result that many of you were hoping for. But everyone else will have to recognize that Jim has made the decision to act in his own best interests. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. I left due to family neglect. Now, my parents suddenly want me back to help and take responsibility for my siblings. Out of the 5, I am the youngest. The next sibling is 7 years older than me, so when I say youngest, I don't mean by a little margin. Growing up, I must admit, I always felt invisible. My parents seemed to believe that since I wasn't ill or struggling with mental health concerns like the rest of my siblings, I didn't require their attention. I don't mean to sound dramatic, but this is the reality. The others were in and out of therapy or hospitals all the time. I, the so-called glass child, was merely there in the meantime. Even if you can see me, you don't pay much attention to me. I was okay with that, for the most part. I read a great deal, played video games, and kept to myself a lot. Since there wasn't really anyone else nearby to amuse me, I learned to do it myself. I didn't have to look after my siblings, at least. Some individuals talk of giving up their childhoods to care for their siblings, but I wasn't in that position. I give credit where credit is due because my parents took care of everything. However, I just went between the cracks because, unlike my brothers, I wasn't creating trouble or experiencing crises all the time. I didn't get any help because I didn't need it. I don't believe my parents intentionally did this. The healthy child becomes an afterthought when you have 4 kids who are always battling health problems. I became the quiet kid who didn't draw attention because my parents were too busy taking care of the others' medical appointments, school meetings, and hospital stays. Not in a tragic, dramatic sense, but rather in a pragmatic, we've got our hands full sense. I was invisible. I wasn't all alone. Mia and Clara were the 2 companions I had when I was younger. We clicked because they and their families were in comparable circumstances. We linked because we knew what it felt like to be disregarded and excluded. They eventually grew closer to me than my biological family ever was. After high school, we remained close, attended college together, graduated together, and finally relocated to a different state because we were inseparable. Using the fragments that our real families were unable to supply, we created our own small family. After I moved out, my parents and I didn't communicate much. We didn't talk much when I was still living there, so that wasn't shocking. Occasionally, my mother would text me, primarily to inquire about my employment or how school was going. Even if our relationship was superficial, it was better than when I was a teenager and we hardly spoke. I didn't ask for much, and I didn't expect much from them either. During one of my mom's phone calls, the disconnect really got to me. Considering that we had never phoned one another, it was unexpected. I could tell right away that something was wrong. About a year had passed since our last phone conversation, when she called to let me know the time and location of one of my sister's funerals. That was the extent of our communication. She called me this time to find out my Thanksgiving arrival time. I didn't even realize they were planning anything, so I was taken aback. We didn't have any significant family customs. I think they attempted to do Thanksgiving or Christmas maybe 3 times in my entire childhood. In my family, it simply didn't exist. I informed her that I had plans beforehand. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't just drop everything and come over because I had plans to go skiing with Mia and Clara. In addition, I would have had to purchase an airline ticket well in advance because I reside 2 states away. My mother, however, pretended that I was simply being challenging. She began guilt-tripping me by claiming that she would be by herself because my dad was traveling 2 hours to visit my brother at the facility where he is housed. I knew how she felt, but she hardly told me and thought I would just appear out of nowhere to cheer her up. She became irate and accused me of not caring about the family when I informed her I couldn't come. She hung up after I reiterated that I already had arrangements. I sat there feeling angry and guilty after the call. Suddenly, I was the bad person for not dropping everything to travel home for Thanksgiving, even though I hadn't heard from them in a very long time. There was nothing about Thanksgiving or wanting to see me as I went over old texts to see if I had missed anything. She expected me to cooperate and just threw it at me at the last minute. Later that evening, I texted her to let her know that I would love to see her and Dad after the new year, but I couldn't make it because I had a ski trip scheduled for Christmas as well. I made an effort to be kind, but she didn't respond. I remained uneasy a few days later. My mother's attempts to blame me for not returning home bothered me for some reason. She guilt-tripped me with an unexpected call, but she never told me they were having Thanksgiving. They seemed to think I could read their minds. I had already moved on and was preparing for the ski trip by that point. Clara, Mia, and I had spent months organizing it, and we were all thrilled. We were eager to unwind because it had been a long time since we had enjoyed a real holiday. Suddenly, I received an SMS from my father. I thought that was significant because he doesn't text me very often. Rather, he threatened to stop funding my college education if I didn't return home for Christmas. Since I graduated years ago, I initially chuckled. Which payments? I had to read the material again to make sure I wasn't missing anything because it was so arbitrary. I assumed he was referring to one of my siblings or was simply confused. Reminding him that I had already graduated, I texted him back. I also advised him to check his bank account because he might be duped if he believed he was still paying for my tuition. I assumed that would be the end of it and that when he found out I was no longer enrolled in school, he would feel ashamed. However, a few hours later, he texted me again, accusing me of being ungrateful and self-centered. He blasted me for not appreciating all of the sacrifices they had made for me and my brothers. To begin with, I never made any requests of them. Second, my grandma was the one who paid for my college, thus I was unaware that they were obligated to do so. She handled everything herself because she had made it clear to me that she didn't want my parents interfering with my schooling. I didn't even know what my dad was discussing. By now, I was a little angry. I understand if they're under stress with my siblings, but accusing me of something they didn't even do? That's a completely different level. I'm sorry you feel that way, but Grandma paid for my college. I'm happy to catch up after the holidays, but I already have plans, I replied by text, trying to be as courteous as possible. That should have put an end to it, but it didn't. My dad went all drama mode and texted me about how I've left the family, how I'm abandoning them, and that he's done supporting me if I don't try. By now, all I could do was stare at my phone and wonder, what's going on? Abandon the family? They hardly noticed that I had been living alone for years. Now, all of a sudden, I'm the villain because I won't abandon everything and return in time for Christmas. I couldn't stop thinking about it, even though I wanted to dismiss it. My anger increased as I gave it more thought. It was somehow my duty to make things better the moment they needed something, even if they hadn't spoken to me in months and hadn't bothered to check in or ask how I was doing. I was meant to be their fallback option, or something. To vent, I called Clara and Mia. It sounded like my parents were just using me as a guilt trip, and that was what they both said. Mia claimed that rather than wanting to see me, they most likely wanted me back for Christmas so they wouldn't feel guilty about it. As usual, Clara didn't mince words and replied bluntly, "Screw them. You don't owe them anything." My phone buzzed as I was lying there, so I chose to sleep on it and wait for it to cool down before answering again. Once more, it was my father. I felt numb as I read the brief and icy email this time. If you don't come home, don't bother coming back at all. How did we arrive here? How did we go from months of not communicating to them essentially rejecting me because I wasn't attending Christmas? It didn't seem real at all. I spent a lot of time looking at the message. I wanted to retaliate by saying something unpleasant. For all the times they disregarded me and made me feel as like I didn't even belong in that house, I wanted to confront them. Rather, I remained silent. I laid over, put my phone down, and attempted to fall asleep. Before the holidays, I didn't want to be drawn into a major family dispute. The accusations, guilt trips, and whatever else they were going to throw at me were things I didn't want to deal with. I simply left it. I woke up the following day to more texts, this time from my mother. She said little more than that they were disappointed in me, didn't know why I was acting so aloof, and hoped I would reconsider. I couldn't help but chuckle because distant wasn't even close to describing it. They were only now realizing that I had been aloof throughout my life. Once more, I disregarded the texts and concentrated on preparing for the ski trip. I must admit that I was as excited as Mia and Clara were. It seemed like the ideal way to get away from all the family drama. I didn't think of my parents for the first time in a long time until we got on the road. I didn't feel depressed or guilty. I simply felt liberated. Naturally, though, peace couldn't last forever. I was about to get over it when my mother sent me another message, in the middle of the journey this time. She was not going to give up. They would have to start making decisions about the future without me, something I wouldn't enjoy, she warned, if I didn't return home soon. At that moment it became clear. There was more in store for them than Christmas. Perhaps it had to do with the house or one of my brothers. I had no idea why they were pushing so hard, but all of a sudden it became clear. They wanted me back for a more significant reason than simply having me around for the holidays. That insight was like a kick to the gut. I always assumed they were simply being needy or lonely. It was never about me, though. Not at all. What they could obtain from me was the main concern. I was finished. I assumed that everything would settle down after my parents' attempt to guilt trip me. I chose to ignore their texts, go on the ski trip, and concentrate on the fact that I was an independent person with my own goals in life. I refused to be dragged back into their world of expectations and guilt. Naturally, though, it wasn't that easy. After returning home and getting used to my routine, I got a message from Jake, my older brother. Jake and I hadn't spoken for months, so maybe not longer. I always imagined that Jake could have some understanding of me as a child. I reasoned that since he wasn't as ill as my other brothers, we may have had more. However, he was constantly too preoccupied with his own affairs. In any case, I was taken aback when I saw his name appear on my phone. His message was straightforward. "Hey, we need to talk." I wasn't feeling particularly dramatic about my family, but I wasn't sure what he wanted. I replied to the text. "Roughly what?" He gave me a call a short while later. I contemplated responding, but my curiosity overcame me. He jumped right into it as I picked up the phone, before I could even say hi. "Mom and Dad have discussed designating you as one of the boys' legal guardians when they are away." I nearly dropped the phone, I promise. For a few seconds, I just sat there in shock, my heart pounding. Was this a prank of some sort? Will they just throw this responsibility on me after all these years of hardly being involved in my life? I managed to ask, "What the hell are you talking about?" At last. Jake sighed like I was the one who was being irrational. "You know how things are with Mom and Dad. They've got a lot on their plate with the other boys, and they're not going to be around forever. They need to know someone's going to step up and take care of things when they're gone." I could feel the heat rising in my body. Jake didn't seem to get why I was outraged. And they think that someone is me? After everything? After all the ignoring and guilt tripping, they just assume I'm going to drop everything and take over their mess? Look, I know it's a lot, but you're the only one who's really stable. The rest of us, we've got our own issues. It nearly made me chuckle. Yeah, well, maybe you guys should have thought about that before now. I didn't even know this was a thing. They never told me they were going to talk to you about it, he stated, but I figured you should know before they tried to spring it on you. I was enraged. It was no longer simply about Thanksgiving or Christmas. This was larger. They hadn't even considered talking to me until now, when it was convenient for them, and they were planning something long-term. They wanted me to take over as the responsible party after we hadn't communicated for years? Simply put, no. Trying to make sense of it, I said, "So what? They've been discussing this behind my back? Like they just decided I'd take on the responsibility without even asking me?" "Yeah, pretty much," said Jake. "They've been planning for a while." Sitting quietly, I stared at the wall while I tried to take it all in. Although I knew it wasn't really Jake's fault, I still felt like screaming at him. He was only the messenger. However, that didn't alter the reality that my parents were going to give me the heaviest possible slap. They wanted me to spend the rest of my life cleaning up after them, not just doing them a favor. I was done being invisible, but I most definitely wasn't going to be their fallback option at this point. More than anything else, I felt defeated and wondered, so what am I supposed to do? Just drop my whole life and move back home? Give up everything I've worked for? Jake had no response to that. He made an effort to discuss how difficult it was for our parents to handle everything while taking care of my brothers. I didn't care though. Because I wasn't an issue, I had been ignored my entire life. Since I was the only one with my life together, they now wanted to take advantage of me. It was unfair. I interrupted him in the middle of his statement and stated, "I'm not doing it. I will not serve as their fallback. They haven't cared about me for the past 25 years, and they have no right to hold me accountable for everyone now." After a moment of silence, Jake remarked, "I understand, I do, but you're still a member of the family." I wanted to shout when I heard that term. Family. Yes, I was a member of the family, but only when it suited them and only when they were in need. They showed no concern for my well-being or need for assistance when I was a child. But all of a sudden, they needed me because they were afraid of what lay ahead. I said, "Tell them I'm not interested. And don't give me another call about this." Before Jake could answer, I hung up and sat there, attempting to relax while I stared at the phone. It seemed as though my entire existence had been building to this point, when I had finally had enough. Enough of being exploited after being ignored, enough of manipulative texts, enough of guilt trips. Their safety net wasn't going to be me. Jake and my dad didn't get in touch for a few days. They seemed to be waiting for me to change my mind, come to my senses, and become the excellent daughter they had suddenly determined I should be. However, I had no intention of moving. Since I was the only one left standing, I wasn't going to allow them to vent their troubles on me. A letter then arrived in the mail. My mother gave it to me. As if we were living in the 1800s or something, she had sent a letter without even calling. The lengthy, meandering letter was chock full of the same guilt-tripping nonsense I had heard before. She continued by describing how difficult things were for them, how much they needed me, and how they were unsure of what they would do without my assistance. But the last part was what truly annoyed me. "Olivia, we're not asking for much," my mother wrote. "All we need to know is that someone will take care of the family while we are away." That's when I understood the true significance of this. They showed no concern for me. All that mattered to them was that their mess be cleaned up after they left. Because they loved or missed me, they didn't want me back in their life. Since I was the only one who hadn't broken, they wanted me since I was practical. I tossed the letter in the trash after crumpling it up. I was finished. First update. I believed I had reached my breaking point after receiving that letter from my mother. What more was there for them to show me that I hadn't previously seen? I had already had enough of their manipulations, guilt trips, and attempts to hold me accountable for their disaster. Naturally, though, I was mistaken. It wasn't finished. Not even close. I received another call, this time from an unfamiliar number, a week or two after I threw away the letter. Something in me was intriguing, but I nearly didn't pick up. Given that I had been ignoring their number, it could have been Jake once more or one of my parents attempting a different one. In any case, I picked up. "Hi Olivia, this is Sarah. One of my sisters is Sarah. We never had a close relationship. She had to deal with hospitals, therapists, and everything else on her own. Yes, I felt sorry for her as a child, but I didn't know her well. It felt unusual to hear from her now, after everything, since we were essentially strangers sharing a house." I said, hey," unsure of the direction things were taking. "Look," she began, "I know that things between you and your parents have been a little difficult, but I really need you to pay attention to what I have to say." Already, I could feel my stomach dropping. I thought, more guilt, more attempts to pull me back in. Here we go. "What is it?" I tried to seem neutral as I inquired, but I was already preparing myself for whatever nonsense was about to happen. "They're not doing well," she stated after taking a long breath. "I mean, not doing well at all. The fact that no one is stepping forward to help with the boys is making them panic as Dad's health rapidly deteriorates. Olivia, they are afraid. They are unsure on what to do." I remained silent for a while. I did care. It wasn't that I didn't. I didn't want my parents or anyone else to suffer. However, I couldn't just go in and make things right for them after everything, after years of them not caring about me. Their band-aid was not me. With caution, I added, "I'm sorry to hear that, but I can't just drop everything. I too have a life, Sarah." I could tell she was frustrated by the way she sighed. "I understand that, but the only one who can assist is you. You know what's happening with me and the others, and Jake is barely able to hold himself together." "Olivia, there isn't anyone else?" I retorted, feeling my rage rising once more. Desperate because they ignored this for years. They believed that everything would simply go away, so they allowed stuff to accumulate. And now I'm responsible because I'm the one who got out and made a living for myself? "Sarah, that is unfair." She said, "I know it's unfair, but this is where we are. They require assistance." There it was once more, the same old shame, the same old story. They always managed to pull me back, regardless of what I did or how far I tried to get away from it. I could sense the tension rising within me, the animosity and frustration that had been building for years now reaching a head. I spoke more sharply than I meant to when I said, "I'm not doing it. It is not my intention to tidy up their mess. They didn't give a damn about me when I was a child, and they certainly don't get to visit me now only for the sake of convenience. I have a life of my own. They must solve this problem on their own." When Sarah spoke once more, I could hear the pain in her voice. "I understand, Olivia. I do. However, this isn't about me or you." Her words. "It's about the family. It's about what's going to happen to the boys when they're gone. If we don't step up, who will?" That struck me hard because it made me understand how imprisoned we all were, not because I felt suddenly guilty. After neglecting and ignoring me for years, my parents were suddenly attempting to exploit me as a means of escape. What about my siblings? Like me, they were ensnared in the center of everything. They simply lacked the strength to defend themselves. I repeated, "I'm sorry, but this time I was softer. But I can't. I won't." She paused for a long time, and I could hear her displeasure over the phone. But this time, I wasn't going to give in. I was unable to. At last, she answered, "Okay," in a flat voice. Before I could finish, she hung up, saying, "I'll tell them." For a while, I just sat there and stared at my phone, feeling guilty and relieved at the same time. I was aware that I owed my parents nothing. It still stung though. Knowing that I had no control over my family's disintegration pained. Or perhaps I wasn't helpless. I was simply unwilling to give up my own interests for them anymore. My mother sent me another letter a few days later. It was considerably worse this time. She skipped the small talk and went right to the guilt trip. She expressed her disappointment at me in her letter, saying that I was failing the family and that she couldn't believe I would abandon them when they needed me most. She rambled on about how difficult it was for her and my dad, how much they had given up for us, and how she didn't know what she had done to earn such a self-centered kid. It was cruel. And it worked for a moment. I had the same old, well-known sting of guilt that I had experienced throughout my entire childhood. However, I then recalled all the years I had been invisible, the times they had forgotten about me, and the times I had needed them but they had failed to show up. I understood that they weren't in need of assistance. Control was at issue here. In order to make me feel as though I owed them something, they attempted to entice me back into their web. However, I no longer owed them anything. Like the last letter, I ripped it up and threw it in the garbage. I was finished. I had had enough of being their pawn. I had had enough of being manipulated by them. Now that I had my own life, I wasn't going to let them take it away. I banned their numbers the following day. To be safe, I also blocked Jake. Although it wasn't a simple choice, it was the only one that seemed correct. They couldn't continue to bring me down and make me feel like I was to blame for their issues. They had to live with the decisions they had made. I felt free for the first time in a long time. Second update. It was a relief to block their numbers, as if a burdensome burden had been removed. I was in charge of the issue for the first time. I wasn't sitting there anticipating a surprise call from Jake or another guilt-tripping message from my mom. It was calm and quiet. Naturally, though, that didn't last. A knock on my door occurred a few weeks later. I assumed it might be a delivery, but I wasn't expecting anyone. My mother, standing on my porch as if she had every right to be there, was there when I opened the door. How she found me is a mystery to me. Although I hadn't been hiding, I didn't anticipate her showing up at my house. She appeared older, I suppose, or perhaps it was simply the tension. In any case, it was evident to me that she had not had an easy time. I didn't feel sorry for her though, no more. "Why are you in this place?" I asked, trying to sound as composed as possible. She took a while to respond. She simply remained there, staring at me as though she hadn't seen me before. At last she said something. "Olivia, we need to talk." I let out a sigh. "No, we don't at all. Everything I needed to say has been spoken. I've already decided." She took a step forward as if she were about to enter, but I blocked her path by standing in the doorway. I didn't want to give in to her and allow this to become just another guilt trip. She said in a gentler voice, "Please, just listen. Your dad is becoming worse. We don't know how long he has left, and he keeps going in and out of the hospital. Olivia, I'm at a loss for what to do." The card she had been waiting to play was finally there. The card that says, "Your father is dying." Although she didn't state it directly, I could tell she was implying it. I'm not cold-hearted. I didn't want my father to be in pain. However, I couldn't just abandon everything and run to their side after everything they had done to me. "I'm sorry," I murmured, attempting to sound calm. "But this isn't my problem. You and Dad have had years to figure this out. You can't just show up now and expect me to fix everything." She gave me the impression that I had slapped her. "I'm not asking you to fix anything, I just need you to be there for the family." "For the family?" I said again, nearly giggling. "What family? The one that ignored me for 25 years? The one that only talks to me when they need something? That's not a family, Mom. That's just manipulation." Her eyes grew wide, and I briefly believed she was going to disagree with me. Instead, she simply broke down in tears, right outside my door. I had no idea what to do when she started crying. I couldn't stand by and watch her cry, but I also couldn't invite her inside. "Look," I continued, now speaking more softly. "I get that this is hard for you. I really do. But I'm not your backup plan. I'm not the person who's going to come in and make everything okay. You made your choices, and now you have to deal with them." She looked up at me after wiping her eyes. I could see the despair beginning to give way to rage. "We did the best we could, Olivia. You don't understand what it was like, raising all of you, dealing with everything. We didn't have time for you because we were trying to keep everyone else alive. The excuse was there. I had heard the same justification countless times before. I stated, and that's not my fault, in a firmer tone. You made the choice to have 5 kids. You made the choice to focus on everyone else and leave me behind. That was your decision, not mine. And now you're trying to make me feel guilty for it. I won't do it, Mom. I won't. She stared at me for a long time without saying anything, as if she had forgotten who I was. Perhaps she didn't. Perhaps because I wasn't causing any issue, she still thought of me as the tiny child she could ignore. However, I was no longer that child. I had had enough of being invisible. At last she said something. So that's it? You're just going to turn your back on us? I gave a headshake. You turned your back on me a long time ago. I'm just finally walking away. Regarding that, she had nothing to say. She simply turned and left, making her way back to her vehicle. I experienced a peculiar spectrum of feelings as I watched her leave. There was a sad part of me, to be sure, but the majority of me felt liberated, as if I had finally let go of something I had been holding onto for years, something I should have done years ago. I went back inside after she left and sat down to attempt to take in what had just transpired. I had lost my anger. I wasn't even injured. I had just finished. I'm over the manipulation, the guilt, and the never-ending sense that I'm not good enough. They weren't going to rely on me. I wasn't going to be the last thing they tried. I wasn't going to let them bring me down any longer. I had my own life to live. It was quiet for the following few weeks. I received no correspondence, no calls, and nothing else. To be honest, I hadn't felt this good in a long time. I concentrated on my life, my friends, and my job. I wasn't watching over my shoulder to see when they would send me another message. I had moved past the shadow of their expectations. Then, perhaps a month later, I received an email from Jake, not my parents. It was brief, just a few sentences, but it conveyed all the information I required. Dad died last night. I believed you ought to be aware. I looked at the email for a while, unsure of how to react. I knew this would happen, so I wasn't shocked. However, I also didn't feel depressed. To be honest, I didn't feel anything. I considered answering. I considered giving Jake a call to see how he was doing and perhaps to give my sympathy. I later understood, however, that this was really a new phase in the same cycle, another opportunity for them to re-engage me. And this time, I wasn't going to be duped. Without responding, I dismissed the email and carried on with my day. I had finally come to terms with the fact that I was no longer a part of their universe.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.